Good morning and welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Goober Brothers Entertainment. Today is April 6th. It is our quarantine stream. Nobody leave the house. Everyone stay inside. Coronavirus is after everyone. So, good morning, everybody, and welcome back again to Goober Brothers Entertainment. Figured this morning would be a pretty good time to do a morning stream, kind of hang out, talk a little bit of movie and video game, and all the news people are wanting to talk about. So let me introduce to you my co-host today, Thomas from So What's Happening Next. What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
So Thomas, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where can people find you, man?
Shameless plug. My wife and I run a podcast called So What Happens Next. It's basically just, another movie podcast where we go ahead and try to take a movie that one of us or both of us have never seen before. And we'll talk about what we think it's about. For the first bit of the show, we'll go watch it. And then the rest of the show is just kind of us talking about sort of our first impressions, or depending on the movie, maybe like our interpretations of the show or movie. What did we think was the best part, worst part, that kind of thing. I guess like today that we're streaming this, we just dropped our 17th episode on Citizen Kane. So if you want to check that out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you like getting podcasts from, feel free to check that out. But we've done all kinds of movies. So you got like Citizen Kane, which is that classic #1 movie of all time. And we've done mindless drudgery like fucking surf ninjas. So, we're kind of all over the place. The infamous Star Wars holiday special had to be one of the worst things I think I've ever seen. Like I don't think words can cover how horrible that was. But yeah, so we're all over the place. Like we just have a good time. We have friends on, or sometimes it's just us. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, everybody go check out So What Happens Next. You can go find that on Anchor. You can go find that on iTunes, Spotify, all that good stuff.
Yeah, we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So
yeah, they just made a Facebook page. So if you guys want to go follow that, or it's a group, right?
Yeah, I think it's a group. Haven't been navigating how to do Facebook with all that stuff yet, but yeah, I think it's pretty much like a group page.
Did Amber make the Facebook page?
No, I made the Facebook page because I was doing it. I was like, I need something to do yesterday, so I was like, yeah, let's finally make a Facebook page.
Might as well. I don't even have one for this channel. I just follow other groups and just kind of share links.
No, it's kind of interesting. Like, there's a lot of really useful tools that I'm kind of shocked that like Instagram doesn't have, but since they're owned by the same thing, so I'm kind of just like, why doesn't Instagram have some of this stuff? But yeah, I mean, it's nice and it's easier. It makes it easier and more accessible to people to be like, hey, here's a link directly to the episode, as opposed to being like, go check the bio for the link and all that stuff. But yeah, it's just kind of like whatever you like, whatever matches your taste better. We're pretty much there as far as social media goes. So yeah, feel free to check us out.
All right. Everybody go do that. But for now, let's go on to our first topic. Today, we're going to be talking about AMC theaters may never recover and shut down for good. This is going to be coming from MovieWeb. So, guys, how do y'all think about this? I mean, this is with the whole beer flu thing going around. It's kind of weird seeing everything kind of shut down. Everybody's kind of on pause and kind of just waiting for something to happen. But I don't think anything's happening anytime soon. So
yeah, definitely. This has me kind of curious because I like subscribe to the whole, what's it called? AMC's Movie Pass equivalent, whatever Stubs thing it's called. Just because there's a whole bunch of AMC's up here in Chicago, so it's kind of just like, yeah, we can. And we were finding we were going to the movies a lot. Movies are expensive, so pay $20 a month and go see 2 movies, and the thing's paid for itself once over already. And when movies were coming out, it was a big thing. But I actually got like an email the other day from AMC that was saying, hey, we're not charging you for this because you couldn't go to the movies even if you wanted to. So we're not charging you. We'll get back to it later. And all that, you bring up a good point with this article. It's just like, yeah, how are they making money? Because they keep trying to get me to not like a streaming service, but to like rent movies or whatever from their website that are like in theaters now and watch them at home. But I'm not really doing that because I already got like a ton of other streaming services that I don't really need to, you know, add another one to.
Exactly. It's just there's so many streaming services out there that I think one of the issues is that the whole streaming service, you know, business, it's going to the market's going to get flooded with,
Oh, whoa.
you know, either can't choose from one of them or just don't even want to worry about it. So
Yeah.
I don't think anything's going to beat the experience of going to the movies and experiencing a movie for the first time, especially like the sights, the smells, the seats that you sit in. It's, I mean, popcorn, everything really. It's a very specific experience that you can't really get anywhere else, especially at home.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can watch movies more comfortably probably at your home, but I think as far as the experience of seeing a movie being showcased to the public for the first time, that's something you can't get anywhere else. Now, the streaming service thing might catch on. That might hurt the movie theater business. I know it's hurt them a little bit. And like you said, you got the movie pass, so that thing's
Yeah.
paid for you time and time again. So I know a few people that use that. So I don't know if that hurts them even more or if that kind of just, I don't know if it equals out or
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Like, I mean, I've heard mixed things of like what the overhead for a movie theater is, right? So, is AMC lose? Is it like an airline where they're barely making any money, or but they charge you thousands and thousands of dollars all the time when you want to take more than 3 flights, or is it like nah, we're making so much money that we're just kind of gouging you guys by charging you $20 a ticket and like $10 for like a small popcorn or whatever. But I mean, I like the movie pass thing just because it is kind of outlandishly cheap. In terms of the whole like comparing the ticket price, like I can go see like a 3D movie. I go see like 3D movies in a month, and it's already paid for itself twice over because one 3D movie, at least up here, one 3D movie is like $20 a ticket, and it's kind of just like,
yeah, it's about the
okay
same
with
here. It's
that.
insane.
Yeah, so I mean, I could see it. I can see like in the long term, maybe they won't recover, but I also can see like the minute this is over, my kind of worry is that people start going nuts and they're just like, I need to get the hell out of my house. And they go do every single thing they can. And that includes going to see movies. And I think they'll go to the movie theater because they weren't able to before. I think it'll be like a quick bump in sales. I don't know if it'll be like enough to fix everything as far as some of these businesses go, but I don't think it's going to be like, coronavirus is over now, but we just lost all of our movie theaters. And I'd be kind of shocked if AMC is the one to close down because they're one of the, I mean, at least up here, it's the one I see everywhere is AMC
They're one of the more pricier movie theaters. I
for
mean,
sure.
they offer a little bit more in some theaters. Like I know the Disney Springs theater, they offer like way nicer chairs. They
Oh
offer
yeah.
like full course meals. Like it's kind of hard to beat that as far as quality, but price wise, if you're looking for, you know, a better movie theater to go to, I like Cobb.
Mm,
They have good things there that are at a reasonable price. Um, Epic Theaters. There's a number of Epic Theaters around. There's a few of them in Florida. We also have
mhm.
one here in our hometown in Titusville. And we also have Regal nearby.
Yeah. Do you guys have an Alamo down there by any chance?
No, I've never heard of them.
Oh, Alamo hands down is one of the best movie theaters I think I've ever been to.
Really? Damn.
Oh yeah, no, it's so how you're saying like AMC has like full course meals and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, they do, but it's like you get your box with your hot dog and your pizza or whatever you wanted in it. And you kind of go from there. But at Alamo, it's like a bar, restaurant, and there's a movie theater, and like it's I don't know. I guess for anybody listening, like if you've been to Alamo, shout out to Alamo. It's it's really cool. Like my wife was the one who there was one in Nebraska, and we went, and it was just like you go sit down in your movie theater. and you have like a table in front of you, and you got these little cards, and you basically like have a menu, and you read through your menu, and you write what you want on the card, and you stick it in a little slot, and there's like ushers that just kind of roam around. And the way the whole theater's arranged is you're sitting higher than other people, or you're sitting higher than like the floor. So the ushers aren't like running in front of you to where you can't see the movie. They're kind of below you. And they'll like take the card and they run off and they go get whatever you ordered and they come back. So like I could order a beer, have them bring me a pint of beer, drink it, be like, okay, I want another beer, write it on the card, put it there, and they go get it. And at the same time, you're getting like, meal, and it's just like standard American food, so it's like burgers and chicken and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
it's good, and it's not, you also don't have the so it's kind of funny to, it's like more entertaining, to be honest. I think I saw Black Panther there,
Oh,
and
cool.
they kind of had like this whole, hey, this is the history of Black Panther, the comic book, from like way back when it came out to now. And then when that was
Oh wow, that's cool.
done,
That's really
yeah,
cool.
it was legit. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. Whereas AMC's like, come see Nuvi with me. Well, blah, blah, blah. Like, here's a bunch of crap you don't care about. I'm like, yay, whoopoo. I care less.
Let me acknowledge the chat real quick. So we got Salvador in the chat. What's going on, brother? The flu man a chew. Yeah. Yeah, we try not to say coronavirus. Just I don't, or I said it now, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't want like this getting flagged or anything. I guess people have been getting flagged on their videos for saying it. I don't know if that's true or not.
Really?
I don't know. The last thing I want is like my video flagged, but
No, that's
I
fine.
don't
I'll
know.
make sure I don't say it anymore.
I've
But
been
I
saying
was
like I've been
shocking.
saying like beer flu or flu man a chew,
No, that's fine.
tongue flu,
That's
whatever.
weird.
I don't know.
No, I know I mentioned quarantine in a different social media the other day, and it got like knocked off, and I was like, you can't say that. And I was like, but why? Like,
No, there's no freedom of speech, man. Like you can't say stupid little things like. I mean, it's just a word, but I mean, whatever.
well, I just blame people automating it. I mean, that was a big thing. I don't know if anybody saw that. Not to go too far off topic, but I mean, that was a thing. I think Facebook was having huge amounts of trouble with when all of this started. It was like people would be posting things, and it would just flag it all as like fake news. And when people were like, "What the hell? This isn't even like political. This has nothing to do with anything." If it was even an article at all, and Facebook was like, "Oh, sorry, it's our bots. Like we had to automate it because we laid everybody off, or they're all working from home, or whatever." And I'm like, "Well, shoot, that's kind of your fault for not making something that works right." Like, I don't know. It's just weird, but yeah, no. I'll make sure I don't say the beer flu name then.
You're good, man. I just said it fucking twice just now. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, good for me. Sal also said maybe it's because theaters to be more selective about what they show and clean the showing rooms more often.
Oh, totally agree.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think theaters are more selective about what they show. I mean, they definitely need to clean a little bit better, I would say.
I think it's just that, and this is where I think they just don't. It's more like an airline where you're not making a lot of money, even though you're charging tons of money for whatever you're doing. Is that they keep trying? They have to get these things turned around so quickly. Like, okay, we have another showing in 5 minutes. Clean this like arena movie theater of 500 seats. You have 5 minutes to do it. Oh
It's
yeah,
also
and you
not
also
a
have
huge
people like
staff, though.
do what?
It's also not a huge staff that they hire. I mean,
Oh
they hire a
no.
lot of people, but it's not like per theater to clean it before the next showing. You probably got 3 people in there.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it's like it's you're cutting costs wherever you can, and I mean you can argue the good and bad of it, but I think at the end of the day, it's just like if you don't have the money, you don't have the money, and maybe not have theaters where you're packing 500 people in. I mean, shoot, I don't know. I've only maybe ever been in a theater that had that kind of seating if it was like a special IMAX event and it was completely
Yeah.
packed. I've never been in a theater where it was so absurdly packed and it was that big. I've been in packed theaters, but not that big.
Yeah, it's not often where you're actually in a crowded theater. Like normally it's there's some people in the lobby and then your showing has quite a bit people, but I mean, there's never really a horde of people in a movie theater unless you're at Endgame, Infinity War, movies like that, Star Wars. Like it's not going to be really that packed.
Well, that's the interesting thing now is,
Yeah.
oh,
I mean, they make a lot of their money through concession sales, and they charge an arm and a leg for like a box of candy that you can get
Yeah.
at Walmart for $1.
Yeah,
So,
really.
but I don't know. Let's read the article. So,
Yeah, yeah.
S&P Global downgraded AMC theaters credit rating last week to a CCC. They were originally at a B rating before the widespread movie theater chain closures occurred. This brings the popular theater chain from highly speculative to default imminent, with little prospect for recovery. In other words, there's a pretty good chance AMC won't be opening back up when all of this is over, which is terrible news for employees and moviegoers who were hoping for things to get back to normal soon. Again, like we said earlier, I don't think it's going to get back to normal soon, but I would I'm hoping in the next couple of months it'll go back to somewhat normal.
Yeah, I mean,
That is if everyone does what they're told to do.
well, exactly. I mean, it's kind of like, but at what point are we cool to go back to movie theaters? Because I know I mentioned it earlier, where it's like I'm wondering, and I would think everyone would be just bum rushing places like restaurants and bars and movie theaters the minute this is over. But at
Mhm.
the same time, I bet you there's going to be a lot of people who are afraid to do that. Like they're going to be like, I am so tense still. Like, what if this isn't over? And it's not going to be a quick, immediate switch. It's going to be people gradually doing these things again, if ever. I mean, this is going to change. I think this is really going to change a lot of what we're seeing today or saw before today.
I think I think movie theaters will open back up, but I also think it's going to have a long-lasting effect, meaning a lot of people that usually go to movies, I think they're going to hold off on going as much just because
Hmm.
of the whole um basically it's been like a hygiene enlightenment
Oh
lately
yeah.
of, everyone's like, "Oh shit, I should probably wash my hands more. I should probably sanitize things more." They might not be comfortable sitting in seats that everyone's fat ass has been in. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you can sit in people's old farts all you want, but
Well, and that's an interesting thing too. Is think of these big premieres. You know, you
yeah,
have like I don't know Marvel movies, for example. I mean, I hate to constantly pick on Marvel, but like we do it on our show a lot just because there's so many of them. But
yeah.
you know, you have these big, huge movies that have these massive ticket sale turnouts opening weekend. Are we going to see that anymore? Because I don't know. I don't know if I would want to go into a movie that's packed full of people. I already don't like going to the movies when it's packed full of people. There's always somebody in there who thinks they're hilarious and they got to comment on everything. I mean, I'm the type of person that would love to go see like I don't know what's probably like a big movie coming out like whatever the next
Or
Marvel movie or
Black
something is.
Black Widow,
Yeah, there you go, like Black Widow or something.
Wonder
Um,
Woman.
yeah, well, okay, so yeah, I think I'd rather see Wonder Woman personally more than Black Widow, but that's just me. Um,
Me too. Me
but
too.
like, you know, if I go see Wonder Woman 1984, like I'll probably try to go see it either on a weekday or like in the middle of the day on the weekend or something like that, just so I can avoid all the Uber fans or just the people that are like going nuts or just the fact that there's a ton of people. It's nice to be in a theater where there's only some people and everyone's kind of quiet and just chill and just there to watch the movie, not to somehow advertise how funny they think they are. And I'm wondering if maybe we're going to see more of that kind of staggering large audiences because you know are people really going to want to be sitting shoulder to shoulder with a stranger who might be sneezing or coughing the whole movie? I don't know. I don't want to do that now, let alone with the quarantine going on.
I think it's gonna be a while for a lot of these movies to get back into the theater. Like, I know some of these have been pushed back to the summer if they
Oh
were,
yeah.
say, a February or March release, but I think those are gonna get pushed back even further. And a lot of these big summer releases like, Black Widow, like Wonder Woman,
Hmm.
um, what was, Antlers? I was really looking forward to that one. But a lot of these movies have been pushed back to, like, October, November, and I mean, Jungle Cruise has been pushed back even further. Like, a lot of these big budget movies are getting pushed back, and I think it's going to be a while. I think it might be at least another 4 or 5 months to where people can trust being out in public again. So
Oh
this is
yeah.
definitely going to be hurting AMC and all the other theater chains. And especially, I doubt these workers are going to be getting paid during this time. So it's just it's kind of crazy to think that going to a movie is like a pastime, and everyone's
Yeah.
done it. Me and you went as kids going to see movies all the time, but now it's getting to the point where if this thing keeps going, we might not be able to go as often, and
Yeah.
that might open up more room to smaller theaters that only hold 3 or 4 movies per theater.
And that's an interesting thing I was thinking about too. Is so we have like up here there's several like little independent theaters, and I've noticed that I'm enjoying going and seeing movies there a little bit more because of the people going to see it are a lot more like chill about seeing it in some cases.
Yeah,
At the same time, it's also like theaters where I can see a movie that is probably not going to be shown in an AMC theater. Like it's a small, maybe more indie movie or something. Or I think of think the last, I mean, this was a while back, but like the last big movie I saw there was like the original like Alien movie with Sigourney Weaver and everybody, and they had like one of the actors from the movie was there to like open it all up, and they're just like, okay, we're gonna show like a 35 millimeter version of Alien, and I was like, that's really cool. And it's the idea that I've never had the opportunity to see this movie in theaters. It came out long before I was born, and like that opportunity passed me by. I can watch it at home. I've seen it before, but like it's a different experience seeing it in a theater. And I'm noticing that like AMC and other theaters are only maybe kind of doing that, and they're only kind of doing it with more recent movies. Like I saw Parasite at AMC after it had already come out, and I think after it won the Oscar. So it was like a technically a re-release, but at the same time, it had come out like less than a year before, you know. And I'm wondering if maybe smaller movie theaters are going to be hurt in the long run more than big giant massive theaters, just because maybe the clientele will switch to being like, oh, I have a local theater, because up here we're seeing a lot of like, let's support local, like let's support the local area because these are the people in our community that are like hurting, as opposed to like let's go to Walmart or something like that. So I'm kind of curious if that's gonna hold up, you know.
I, I think it possibly could, because you see these smaller theaters and you see the ticket prices. Like my freshman year in college, we had a small little movie theater in the downtown area, which it was a small downtown, but the tickets were like $2. And then you go to the concession stand and get popcorn, and it's $1 for popcorn and like $1 for soda. But the catch was the theater only showed 2 or 3 movies at a time.
Yeah.
So this was back, I think it was the last Hunger Games movie. No, it was the second to last or the second one. I can't remember. But anyways, but we saw a Hunger Games movie, and I mean, I just used a $5 bill the whole time to get in, get food, and get out. Like it was great.
Yeah.
So I
No.
and what I think might happen. This is just my mind going crazy, but what if these big companies like AMC, like Regal, like Cobb, all these guys, what if this really hurts, their business? And then later on down the road, they go, we're going to downsize. So
Hmm.
instead of these big theaters, let's do smaller theaters.
Right.
So they basically will cut their movie theater in half essentially and only show a few movies at a time. But say you have 3 AMC movie theaters within, I don't know, 100 miles from each other.
Yeah.
One of them's going to show 3 movies that are out now. The other one's going to show 3 different movies, and they're just going to be smaller scale.
Yeah, and that would be the thing I'd almost kind of worry about, is like if you have, okay, well, my theater chain's gonna move movies around based on what theater we want it at, right? So, oh, throw it at, okay, Avengers 15 is going to show at the AMC that's 50 miles west of town, but the new Wonder Woman 3 is going to be over here at the AMC in the city, and then some other movie is going to be up there. If you want to see all 3 of these movies, you now have to go to 3 theaters. That's going to kill them. Like, that would be the thing that would kill them. What I'd be kind of curious is if the clientele drops enough to where we can make sort of more, like, instead of maybe downsizing the theaters, I think of like the Enzian Theater down in Florida. I remember going to a couple times, and it's probably different now. It was a long time ago when I went, but at the time, I thought the cool thing was that the theater itself, it wasn't with rows and rows and rows of seating like you're in a stadium. It was in like little clusters. So like if me and 4 friends go see a movie, we get our own like little couch and table seating area. And like that's where we're at. We're not right next shoulder to shoulder with somebody else. And I'm kind of wondering if maybe that's the way to go, especially with this kind of quarantine mentality, is like maybe don't have everybody packed in like sardines and just kind of move people, separate. Also, just to acknowledge the live comments, Sal is over here mentioning that the theater location can make a lot of difference, and I totally agree. The theater I was talking about that's local near me, it's called the Music Box, and it's definitely got its fair share of hipsters that go and hang out. But it's great because nobody. I mean, when we're either nobody's making a peep or every movie. So like when you're watching Alien and something cheesy happens and it's funny, everybody's laughing. But at the same time, even if somebody thinks something's funny and no one's doing anything, they're not saying a word, and that's kind of cool.
That is really cool. I mean, it's kind of like hanging out with your buddies. Like, you guys know when something's funny,
right?
But I mean, you can just watch it and then just let it keep going. You don't have to commentate like the whole thing.
Exactly, and I think that's the sad thing about, and I mean, I love them, is sad things like Mystery Science Theater 3000 and shows like that. They've gotten people into thinking that this is what people want to hear, and I'm like, nah, MSD3K has been out forever. It was fun to watch it with a cheesy movie. I don't need to hear everybody. Like, I'm watching that show because I want to watch that show. I'm not going to a movie because I want to hear you joke.
Yeah. Well, everyone thinks they're a comedian now.
Yeah.
I mean, we do that on our show.
Oh, and we do it on ours too. But
yeah.
Like, in my mind, you're listening to our show because you want to hear our thoughts, whether it's a joke or a serious thought about this movie. But I'm not going to the theater and shouting and screaming the whole time. I mean, that's not what you paid to see.
Yeah, I think that is for sure one of the downsides of actually going to a theater versus, hey, I'm going to put on Hulu and then watch this new release.
Oh, definitely.
So, I mean, as far as movie theaters go, this is definitely going to hurt them.
Yeah, I think
I don't think it's going to be the end, but I think it's going to be one of those long-lasting effects to where once they open, you're going to start seeing some business changes. I don't know what it'll be, but
I think at the very least it's going to be sanitation. I mean, even the businesses that are still open, I see, like, I went to a local store down the street a few days ago, and it was like the minute I was done signing on the little tablet thing, they like spritzed it with sanitizer and wiped it off. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to see, maybe not that extreme, but we're going to see stuff change. And I think it's going to be a lot of more like cleanliness, maybe less contact when it comes to like exchanges of whatever products, services, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some more like gloves or something. I don't know. But I think this is definitely like hey, we need to clean ourselves up a little bit better than we were before. And I mean, that happens every generation or so. You get kind of a wake-up call. So I think this is it.
We'll see. I mean, I would like nothing more than to, be able to go back to everything normal, but truth of the matter is, probably won't.
Nah.
But I think I think everyone, like I said earlier, I think this will enlighten people more of to how to act in public and how to be more aware of your little space that you have.
Yeah, and I think
your personal space. I think this will hopefully, bring this to more people's attention that, hey, let's not be gross. Let's actually just like be an adult, go to the movies, do my thing, and then call it a fucking day. So
I agree. I think it's also going to make people like really appreciate it a lot more, to be honest. Like, I know I'm going to appreciate going to a restaurant, going to a movie theater, going to a bar or whatever a heck of a lot more than I did before. Because like, look how quickly and easily that was sort of like, I don't want to say taken away, but I mean, in a way, it was just sort of like, yeah, you can't do this anymore because if you do, like, you can get really sick. And it's like, well, shoot, I don't want to get really sick, so I don't want to do that.
No, I forgot to put this up earlier on the thing, so whatever.
That's what we talked about, everybody. Look at that.
Yeah, and I also have this, so whatever. All right, so um, yeah. Final thoughts. I mean,
On AMC's closing, I think, I don't think they're going to close. I think, you know, what's more than likely going to happen, they'll probably get some, like a lot of businesses are getting, they'll probably find a way to get into the whole bailout thing and it'll be fine. But I think they're going to have to change. And I think a lot of businesses are going to have to change. But I don't think AMC is going to be one of the ones to close. I think there might be other businesses that people start going, you know what, doing that is kind of unsanitary and I don't want to do that anymore. And they're going to, slowly fade. But I don't think AMC is one of them. I don't think movie theaters in general are one of them.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's. I don't think they're going to close either. I think it's. I think it's just going to be a big procedure change. I think it's going to be a business change, and
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the amenities available to people when they go to the movies normally, I think those are going to change a little bit too. I think more likely it's just going to be protocol changes, business changes,
Mm-hmm.
as far as ticket price standpoints, because they're gonna when these things open back up, they're gonna lower prices for sure.
They're going to
I
have
mean, they're
to.
not gonna be charging out the ass like they normally do. I think to get people in there and they go, "Hey, we're open back up. Come on, come back in." They're
Yeah.
gonna be cutting the prices in half for tickets. They're gonna be doing BOGOs. They're gonna be doing sales on popcorn.
Oh yeah,
Um,
buy a drink, get a free popcorn or something.
yeah,
Some kind of gimmick like that just to get people in the door for sure. And I mean, you also have to fight that new consciousness of is being in a big group gonna, potentially kill me now or whatever people are, or at least at the very least get sick. Like, that's gonna be something they're gonna have to deal with is people thinking that way. So
we'll see. I mean, it's one of those things where we got to wait it out and just stay safe. And once we make it out of all of this mess,
yeah.
I think I think people are businesses are going to be. I mean, businesses in general, not even just movie theaters, they're going to be discounting a lot of stuff to try to help people's pockets a little bit more. A
For
lot of
sure.
people aren't getting paid, including me. So it's it's you know it's a
No,
weird
it's gonna be
time, but
interesting.
yeah,
It's just
but
gonna be interesting overall what's gonna happen. But yeah.
I think movie theaters will be fine. I mean, the closed movie theaters in general, especially a big company like AMC, because I mean, we have an AMC now in Brevard. It's down in Vieira.
Mm.
So that it used to be a rave, and then it used to be
Oh,
something
okay. Yeah, I remember that theater.
in the avenues. It's an AMC now. So
Yeah, I mean, it strikes me that I don't know. It's kind of surprising. This article is like, "Oh, AMC is going to shut down," and I'm just like, the only I could see them financially having to shut down because AMC just in recent years, I feel like has kind of exploded everywhere. Like, there's just they're kind of absorbing a lot of other theaters that may have been part of smaller chains, like the one you just mentioned.
yeah,
And maybe they haven't had the opportunity to get financially get money back from that sort of investment, and then this happens and it's like crap, we just lost a bunch of money acquiring these theaters and now we're not going to make it back, so this quarter we're screwed or something. But at the same time, in the long run, like if those theaters are still there when this is over, then those are the theaters people are going to be going to. So there you go. I mean, if I recall, that was the only theater in Vieira that period. If I mean, it's probably different now.
yeah.
It's been a long time since I lived down there, but
There's some in
yeah.
Melbourne, but as far as Vieira, that's the only one.
Yeah, and like
So
if I'm like a high school kid who wants to go to the movies there, I'll just
yeah,
go.
yeah. And
I'll just that's the
you're
one I'm
near
going.
Rockledge, you're near Cocoa. I mean, you're near all these towns.
Yeah.
That's bringing in a lot of people. It's in a shopping plaza,
Yeah,
so it's kind
exactly.
of
So I can get
hard
dinner
to
when I'm
not bring
over.
people in. But I mean, in areas like that, oh yeah, you're gonna make your money back, hopefully.
Yeah.
But But hey, let me look at the chat real quick. Let me see. Salvador, I think they closed the stores that were underperforming before all this even started. Yeah, I mean, companies were shutting down stores right before this whole pandemic thing started.
Yeah, they were
It's a-
definitely gearing up for it.
yeah, I think some of the businesses took better precaution than most of the people did. E-Temple Coin is the place to be reviews. What is going on? Hail. Um, welcome, man. So that was my buddy Pete I was telling you about. So let me see.
Oh, hey, man.
All right. So let's go ahead and go on to our next topic. I think we'll go ahead and start off with this one. It is the movies that are going to be delayed. And as far as movies go, is there any movie that's been more disappointing before it even releases than New Mutants? I mean,
I
fuck.
know. I mean, I have to admit, like, over the course of time, I've gotten more and more excited about this movie just because it's kind of that forbidden fruit, right? Like, oh man, it's the movie that they keep pushing back, but it's, an X-Men, or I guess a superhero based horror movie. And that to me is like super interesting because it's something that's different.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
the closest thing we've had to that is Batman, and that's not even horror. It's
yeah, it's like a thriller,
Batman. Yeah,
but this is like to take place in this sort of X-Men Marvel universe or whatever you want to call it now. I don't know. It's all the same thing.
yeah.
Um,
It's
but it's
hard to
just,
differentiate the two.
yeah, it's getting so blurred with these acquisitions. It's just like, yeah, okay, whatever. Just, I don't know, make the movie. It doesn't have to be part of a bigger thing necessarily.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to be a big thing. I don't need it to be a big thing. A movie can be a movie. But with this, I was super excited because it's like, oh man, this is like a different approach to this whole superhero thing. And I know we were getting, I personally never saw it. I don't know if you saw it, Brightburn, the whole kind of
no, I
spoof on
haven't.
Superman.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
I heard I haven't watched it. I heard it's kind of what you get what you think you're gonna get out of it. It's a horror movie, a gory horror movie with if Superman was evil kind of type situation
It had a
without
good
actually
turnout, didn't
saying
it?
it. Oh, is it what?
It had a good turnout, didn't it?
I
Like,
don't. I think it
didn't it
did.
make a lot of money?
Maybe I don't know. I'd have to double check, but I know it didn't do terrible. I mean, it's one of those movies that came out kind of like, yeah, if you went to go see this, you weren't disappointed because you knew what you were getting. It wasn't trying to pretend like it was some kind of like high horror movie or something like Hereditary or Midsummer or Get Out or something like that. It was just like, hey, you want to see what would happen if Superman or if a kid with Superman powers just decided to like go on a rampage? That's what this would look like. And it's like, okay, cool. Like I know what I'm getting. I'm getting cool kills by Superman. But
Yeah,
stuff like that, where it's just this is a horror movie with a supernatural being was one thing, but for this to be like, oh yeah, hey, we're gonna take that universe and we're gonna make it scary. That was pretty cool.
yeah. I think movies like it made a lot of money. Why? Because it appealed to everybody. It was a bigger scale horror movie. It had a better budget around it, than most horror movies. But it was the scale of things in that movie, and a lot of people already knew the character, and a lot of people have like really associated horror with clowns. So
Mm,
that I think that in general was just why it brought in a lot of money. Here, everybody's used to the superhero movies,
yeah.
so I think the fact that, like you said, you're going to mix the two, I think that could bring in pretty good numbers. Especially this girl right here. She's supposed to basically play a werewolf.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's the other thing. I have like no idea what anyone's superpowers kind of are. I sort of picked up like, yeah, she's a werewolf. I think somebody else, I don't know. They all got some kind of, and that's the thing I like about X-Men in general is like sort of a creative take on their powers as opposed to like, I have super strength and I have laser vision, which are two X-Men things, but the more of them you have, yeah, Sal's saying her name's Wolfsbane. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, she's
uh,
like she's a werewolf, but she's not like a full on werewolf. She's like
mhm.
a mix. So she's like a humanoid werewolf, I guess you can say. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, it's kind of funny. She played Arya Stark in Game of Thrones, and she's
Yeah.
playing a werewolf person in this. It's a little on the nose, but okay.
I mean, full circle.
Yeah, like you just become the thing. Um,
You've become the thing you sworn not to, or
yeah,
whatever the fucking
whatever.
Obi-Wan line is.
Sworn to defend against or something. I don't remember. Yeah, so Etep. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Etep.
Etep, yeah. So they're pointing out the Brightburn only made 32 million. So yeah, I guess it didn't make a whole lot, but
Dang.
I mean, yeah.
Let's see. So Sal said she can turn it into one at will. Well, after she learns to control it. Oh, that's fucking cool. Okay. See, this movie deserves to be out now. And I mean,
Oh, for sure.
who made this? Did Fox made it before Disney took over, right?
So if I recall, this movie was sort of stuck in a weird Fox hell limbo area for a while.
Yeah.
It was made, it was done, and it was like ready to be released. I think maybe like upwards of 2 years ago.
Huh.
And Fox was just like, we need to make changes. We're going to do reshoots. And everyone kind of was like, ah, shit. Because, you think of like Fantastic Four. Hold up a sec.
Yeah. Your dogs again. Thomas has what does he have? He has two little dogs. They're the ones with the fluffy butt. Fucking corgis. He has corgis, I think. I guess we're just waiting on him.
Apologies
But
about that.
no, you're good. You have two corgis, right?
Yeah, we do. And then one
Yeah, I
of
was like, he
puppies,
has
so-
the two fluffy butt dogs. I forgot what they're called.
Yeah, nah, one of them's a puppy, so wrangling them is kind of a pain.
Oh god.
Fox made it. It was supposed to be released a while ago. Then they were like, we're going to do reshoots, and everyone just kind of groaned because you had like um the stigma around reshoots ever since Justice League and the second Fantastic Four iteration and stuff like that.
Well, there's also a bunch of Star Wars stuff going on too with like reshoots. So
Oh yeah,
if
I mean,
anyone's the reshoot king, it's definitely Star Wars at this point.
I think the reshoot stuff can help and it can hurt a lot. It really depends. And I think in the past, reshoots have clearly helped. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. But with stuff like this, it's just sort of like, they were going to reshoot it. I don't think they ever did. End of the story is I don't think they ever reshot it. It just kind of languished.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got acquired by Disney, and Disney basically said, well, we already have a finished movie. Why don't we just release it? And they were going to, and then this whole thing happened.
Yeah, Sal in the chat said yes. Fox made it. It should be released straight to Blu-ray for $7.99. I agree. I think they should at this point. They owe the public and the fans a good movie. Real quick, Sal. Sal's got to head out. So yeah, thanks for joining us, man. I appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy, so you take care, man. Get some rest, and I'll talk to you in the group chat. All right. But yeah, I think they should either release it on Blu-ray. They should do Blu-ray, and then they should put it on a streaming service. I mean,
At this
Disney
point,
owns
just do
everything now.
streaming.
What's
Like,
that?
at this point, just do streaming. I mean, given the current situation, like, I'd still have to go to the store and buy a Blu-ray. So forget it. Just stream it, probably to Hulu, since that's where Disney. And this movie again presents kind of an interesting thing, right? Is Disney makes Disney Plus and says, okay, we're going to put Star Wars and Marvel and all of our cartoon movies and then like Pirates of the Caribbean, all this kind of sort of family friendly stuff on there. And we're going to use Hulu to be our adult content sort of site. Where
Yeah,
does
because you can get like It's Always Sunny on there.
right? And then it kind of goes, well, where does this movie go? This like I want to say this movie was an R rating, maybe not, but I thought it was supposed to be.
I would say this should go definitely on Hulu, but I think the problem is that yes, I understand they want to. Sorry, I just drank coffee, so I'm like dealing with
No, it's totally
but,
cool.
but I think their problem right now is instead of just pushing this thing back, because everyone knows this is going to be out. Everyone that's a comic fan, everyone that's a superhero nerd guy, person, whatever, they know that this movie exists, but it's been delayed for a fourth time now. just showcase it. Just get it out there. And if you get a good reaction to it, that's going to open up more, opportunities to make another one or something cool. But I think delaying the actors, delaying the fans from a good experience, I think that's just crazy. And if they actually did put that on streaming, people would be like, "Oh shit, we got something good now. I can't wait till the next one." It's exactly what Netflix does. Netflix every now and then they get a show that's really really good and
Oh
everyone
yeah.
like, "Oh shit, this is awesome. I can't wait till the next season or I can't wait till the next movie, whatever."
Yeah. That's how I
And
felt about that show. I don't know if you watch it, but that show Kingdom. It's like a Korean zombie movie.
no, is it
No, I'm sorry, zombie television show. That is one of the best zombie television shows I think I've seen. I highly suggest it.
oh cool.
But we watched the first season, and then the minute the first season was over, I was like, "Holy shit, I got to see what happens next." And like, it didn't ever come up until recently. They just released the second season, and I mean, we burned through it in like a couple days. Like it went straight through, and given the times, it's kind of applicable, but at the same time, it's like a really good zombie thing. So if you're into foreign stuff and you don't mind subtitles, like I would really highly suggest that. It's got a great production value and it's just a really cool story.
Oh nice.
But yeah, no, that so stuff like that, Netflix has some pretty like hardcore gems, but they also do kind of take a shotgun approach to this stuff.
And there's the thing, when something's good, people are going to recognize it and people are
Yeah.
going to give it credit where credit's due. But you got to get it out there. I mean, I don't think too many people expected Stranger Things to be as great as it is.
No, I mean look at it on paper, right? Like it kind of sounds really that's what you're doing because think about it. Like on paper, Stranger Things is just another
It's
80s nostalgia show with these kids fighting monsters. And they like one of the kids is a psychic. Like this sounds like Stephen King threw up on a script and, here you go. And let's throw some 80s nostalgia in. But then you watch it and you're like, "Oh, this was really well executed and, I enjoyed it." I'm curious about the next season of that show just because it's taking such a left turn. I'm kind of curious how they're going to do it. But
I think it's going to be, I personally I like all three seasons. I know a lot of people are hit or miss with it when it comes to, oh, the first season was the best, second season was cool, not that great, third season sucked. Me personally, I like all of them. I mean,
yeah.
I don't really have a problem with them. It's they've stayed the course throughout this whole time.
I think that's a great way to put it. To me, they've stayed pretty consistent. I mean, the first season was really good, but it was at the same time, it was something that came off as different. So, when you have different over and over and over, it stops being different.
And they can
But
also you
yeah,
can also see the changes in the kids because the kids are getting
yeah.
older, so they're starting to get bitchier.
And I think
That's
season
just
three
how kids
highlighted
are.
that.
That's how I was.
Really, yeah, every kid's like that. I think
Yeah.
season three is like that. It highlights that really well. Like they're growing up, and it's changing their dynamic. Honestly, like if they had decided we're going to end this show with season three, I think without that little, caboose ending to it, I think it would have been fine. Like, you end everybody, does what they do. I don't want to spoil it, I guess, for people who haven't watched it, but
It's been
they,
out a while now,
yeah,
for almost a year now.
yeah, something like that.
No, but
But it ends, yeah, it ends.
Hopper's gonna be back. Well, they released the trailer for season 4
Oh, yeah, they did. I thought, well,
or
they
teaser.
released that little teaser, yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean, like that sort of stuff where it's like, oh, hey, we're in Russia now, and it's like, okay, cool. Like, my question is, are we gonna have like? I'm sorry.
Your kids.
Yeah, it's wrangling cats, even though they're dogs. But yeah, it's. I'm curious how they're gonna get everybody to Russia to have a show.
I don't know. I think it's gonna be. They're still gonna be consistent, but they're always pulling different things out of left field that makes sense. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. I mean, like the whole different portals from the Russians was way out of left field. Like, how did this get into a Stranger Things show?
Oh, because they did it in Stargate SG-1 for anybody who's watched that. They did a whole episode of how the Russians had a Stargate, so like that's
But it's cool though. Like it all intertwines pretty well into the story.
yeah.
And you have that one guy who was in the other guys that's like, her name's Christina.
Oh yeah. Christineth, yeah. No, he's great. I mean, honestly, everybody in that show does a pretty really great job. I mean, I enjoy watching them. Um, but I'm just kind of curious. Like, I'm wondering if Stranger Things is gonna finally kind of take the jump from the kids because we kind of broke them up, and like maybe we'll see them, but it's only going to be for part of the show. Because I have to say, like, one of the things that was getting a little taxing for me as far as Stranger Things is concerned is just like, okay, I get it. Like, you're a kid and you're growing up, and it's the 80s and malls, and how long until this just becomes, like a 80s movie again? And I'm just kind of like, yeah, I've seen it before. It's cool, whatever. Or it starts to become a little bit too unbelievable. These kids, like, taking on some evil secret government thing. Like, they did it in a goofy way that was funny and it worked in this last season, but I think any bigger than this, like geopolitical stuff, is gonna be a little like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
really? Like,
I think if they keep it down to a smaller scale as far as just these people fighting
mhm,
is fine.
yeah,
But if they start getting it to a bigger scale, like getting the army involved and all that shit, it's gonna be it's a little too much.
yeah. Like
Like
if
a little
we,
too gravitas of a um
yeah, it's just too heavy. Like it's just too
yeah.
much. It's too much for me to believe like these kids are even remotely involved at this point. But
I think
anyway, yeah,
how they did with them, like they were fighting that monster in the mall. That's
right,
like, all right, you have a sidekick. Well, yeah, you have 6 other kids though.
yeah,
Well, what the fuck are they supposed to do? They got fireworks. Okay.
yeah.
Like,
You
I
That's
mean,
the thing, right? You run out of like, okay, what you have a big, and you see this in the third season as the cast gets bigger, and it's like, okay, well, at what point do you have too many characters to have everybody doing something? You
and let's
know?
be honest, most of the kids don't do anything.
Yeah, and I mean that was a trouble in season 1 too. You had to be like, we're not friends anymore, and these kids just kind of like, okay, goodbye, show, and they're gone for like an episode or two, and then they
Yeah.
come back to help the plot, and it's like, okay, cool, but you know, if you just gave them something to do in the script, you wouldn't have had to have this sort
They
of
all pitched in
useless
though, which was
thing.
pretty cool because
Yeah.
they're actually able to contribute to fighting instead of 11 being the only one.
Yeah,
And it
and I
was
mean
around
that's
4th of
the
July, so they had
yeah.
fireworks. So I was like, well, yeah, kids have fireworks in their backpacks or whatever. Like I remember me and you in our neighborhood, we had firework fights
Oh
and
yeah.
shit. Like, I mean, that's what kids do. So that was cool.
Yeah, no, it was.
I think stuff like that to where it's unexpected and then people grow and attach to it. I
Mhm.
think the same thing's going to be with this New Mutants movie. It
Yeah.
just needs to get out there though, instead of just
Yeah.
pushing it back. Because it's like, what are you waiting for? This is another Fox made movie. You saw
Mhm.
how Dark Phoenix made like no
Well,
money at all.
did you hear about the quote, I think from I think it was the director of this movie who was just like, "Yeah, we're still gonna," or his director or producer who was just like, "Yeah, we're still gonna release this movie," and people were like, "Well, what if, it's not very good? You've had all this time, all this hype." It's like, there is nowhere to go but up from Dark Phoenix. Like, this movie can still tank, and it'll probably still be better than Dark Phoenix as far as just a movie goes. And I mean, I think I saw Dark Phoenix on like a flight, uh, like a really long, flight from somewhere, and it wasn't the worst, I guess, but it had some cool moments. But overall, I mean, as far as the X-Men movies go, it was just kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's no X2, so I don't really care.
Nah, X-Men 1 and 2 were good. 3 sucked ass, except for some of the Wolverine fight scenes and seeing Beast. I think that was like the coolest part.
Yeah, that was cool. And I
And
liked, some of the new sort of rebooted ones were like First Class was pretty good, and then you had, I
yeah,
think it goes up to Days of Future Past for
Days of
me.
Future Past is one of
Yeah.
the best ones, I think,
That
just
was one of the
because
best ones.
you
Yeah.
had the whole crew, the original cast there, and then you also had the newer cast thrown in
Right.
there, and the whole time travel thing, it worked.
No,
It
it
wasn't
definitely
like
worked.
that. It wasn't like Endgame to where the rules were confusing. You're like, wait, what? It was like
Yeah,
she has
yeah.
powers. She can send you only back because she's touching you. just
Well,
can't
it's also
send.
like you were alive back then, you can go back then, and then you
Yeah,
have the added bit of like Wolverine can only go back because this is, I don't know, going to be taxing on his brain, whatever you want to make up.
yeah,
But
because he can heal.
right. And I mean, like
So
it worked for me because at the very least, that movie was like a really cool like passing of the torch from people like Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen to this new group of actors who are playing those same characters, but in an earlier time. I think from that point forward, though, it was a little too abused as far as like this is our excuse to like screw with the timelines now, and it's just like okay, screwing with timelines is one thing, but when all of your characters are younger than they were before, that's where it stops making sense. Like
yeah,
Jean Grey can't be younger than Jean Grey in the like what was it 99 when X-Men came out? Like that's not how that works. You can't just suddenly
yeah.
be younger.
I hate the new that X-Men cast from Dark Phoenix and
Apocalypse.
yeah, fuck Apocalypse.
Yeah, that movie again, like, but everyone like hates on these movies really hard, and I'm like, I mean, maybe it was because I had low expectations going into both of them, but it was sort of like I don't know. I mean, they weren't so ungodly horrible that I'm like, this is the worst movie ever. I've seen worse superhero movies, but at the same time, I was like, this isn't anything compared to the other ones. It's nothing special. I didn't really care for it. It was a little weird, and it just sort of was like, whatever. Like, I don't need it. They should have stopped with Apocalypse. I don't think they should have done Dark Phoenix, let alone had the same writer who tried to do the Dark Phoenix storyline the first time and botched that, do it again. I mean, it was just weird, and I don't know. I didn't need it, so that's kind of my thoughts on that. But as far as New Mutants goes, I think whenever it inevitably gets released, it's going to be at least a fun horror movie to watch. I mean, scary superpowers versus people who are kind of learning their superpowers and figuring it out, and then fighting back against this, and just sort of it's a horror movie, and I'm hoping they go full horror. Like, I'm really hoping that they're not
Yeah,
like, it's just a spooky, because that's what I think that new Doctor Strange movie, whenever it comes out, is going to wind up being. Because they're touting that as like, oh, it's going to be a scary superhero movie. And I'm like, yeah, but are you. Sorry about that.
no, I think
But yeah, I think it's
I
going to
think
be,
Doctor Strange is going to be. I'm hoping it's going to be scary just because they can go interdimensional, but
yeah,
it
I think it's
needs
going to be.
to. It can't be too balls to the wall to where it's like making kids piss themselves. But again, maybe you should do that.
I mean, like, my problem, I mean, this is kind of if I had to generalize my issue with a lot of Marvel movies, is just that they start to be the same after a while. I think the biggest one to highlight that is what is it called? Captain Marvel. It's like a movie I have no inherent problem with, but it really made me go, you can put anybody at this point in the whole Marvel universe, you could put anybody in any of these characters' roles, and it's the same movie. You can have
Yeah,
Iron Man be Captain Marvel, and uh, War Machine be Sam Jackson's character, and just like it's Nick Fury, and it's the same movie, and you don't lose anything, you don't gain anything. And I don't know. I guess it's just like, it's not that it's a bad movie because it's following the Marvel formula. It's just a movie that goes from A to B to C, and then hooray, we save the day. Cool. Watching that like 27 times or whatever it was at that point, it gets old. And my hope was something like Doctor Strange. Like, I really liked that first one because it at the time it did kind of take a twist on what was going on at the time. It was different. And I'm hoping that maybe they do go like to a darker place with it.
I think
Yeah.
I think these movies are all so similar, like you
Mhm.
said, that we need a drastic change. Like New Mutants can be that drastic change for superhero movies,
Yeah.
but why not incorporate that into the MCU itself? Now I don't know if they're going to interconnect the New Mutants thing and the MCU. I think if they did, that would be smart. It would
Mhm.
be a decent way to introduce the X-Men other than Deadpool into this thing, and then
Right.
get a new cast for the X-Men that's actually good and older, not this bullshit teenage crap. I hate
Or
that.
just have it be like the New Mutants are the X-Men or whatever. I mean, I'm not too up with all of the X-Men comics ever, so I'm not sure whether New Mutants fall in that. But I mean, you can have like cameos from these other characters, but say have, get out Patrick Stewart or I can't even remember his name. The other guy who
Ian
plays.
McKellen,
No, not Ian McKellen. The guy who plays Professor X, young Professor X.
James McAvoy.
Yes, James McAvoy. Have one of them kind of come out and be like, "Hey, everybody! Like, hello, movie. I'm having my own little cameo, and here are these mutants that can help you, Iron Man, and blah 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 blah, or whatever." I'm kind of wondering if maybe right now, like taking this post Endgame Marvel kind of thing and doing what DC's doing, and just like, "Hey, look, the expanded universe wasn't working out. Like, we're just making movies. Like Wonder Woman was a hit and Shazam did pretty well, so we'll make sequels for those. And if these movies happen to kind of like cross paths, neat. If they don't, whatever." Um, but I think that's going to be one of the interesting things about. I think Marvel maybe should take that approach. Is like, okay, everybody, let's cool down from Endgame. Let's not set up another big bad immediately, so that we can watch all these characters start crossing paths and working together again, building this whole interconnected thing. I mean, that's one of the things I really didn't like about the new Spider-Man movie was that it was still so hung up in the like pre-Endgame everything. And I get that that's how they kind of planned it. They're like, yeah, let's make it all, end with Spider-Man, but I'm like, it just feels like an epilogue that I don't want and is making it take a little too long for it to resolve.
It's
Uh,
just it's so forced, and it there's no really end in sight for the whole Spider-Man thing. It's just like I don't know, man. It was so forced,
yeah.
and nobody wants a Spider Boy. They want Spider Man.
Well, and that's where I think,
And then we're getting this, but it's also Sony and it's MCU.
yeah,
It's just it's very very weird, and I think if they just if they just stuck to that one character and just made him the best version of that character, same with the X-Men, get the best version of these guys, throw them in there.
yeah.
It'll be fine.
Well, that's where I think, as far I think like the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man game, like that
Yes.
was like
Yes.
the best iteration of Spider-Man I've seen in a long time. Like
Yep.
arguably since the Sam Raimi movies with Tobey Maguire, like that was a great. Let's look at Spider-Man like older. Like he's already done this shit. We don't need, and I mean, I agree with Marvel's approach to Spider-Man in the sense that they're like, we don't need to see Uncle Ben die for like a third time. We get it. We know what happens. Everyone's pretty familiar with it. I don't need it. You don't need it. Let's skip that part and let's move on. But then you also have like my other problems with it is just like, and it's probably just because I'm older now, but I found like the whole second movie to just be really unrelatable. Like I'm like, these are all like, you know, arguably upper class kids getting to go on a really bomb ass trip to another country in high school. I didn't get to do that. Oh, look, they're having all these like high school problems. I'm like, I can't relate to this. This movie suddenly is becoming not for me, as opposed to like every other Marvel movie where there's something you could take out of it, no matter who you are.
Well,
And
yeah,
so it's
and
like mildly alienating in that regard. But
well,
that video,
Spider-Man. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say the video game was great, not just because we're dealing with an older Spider-Man, but it's like let's look at Spider-Man who's already kind of done cooking.
Yeah.
I don't need Uncle Ben just as much as I don't need to see Spider-Man figuring it out for a third time. You know,
Well, he
and
was
I'm
20 in the video game. He's 23,
yeah,
so he's already got years of experience as Spider-Man. So he is Spider-Man.
but he's still
So
struggling, which was the
yeah,
best part. Was it's
and
not like
Spider-Man always
yeah,
deals with like adult themes, like adult
right.
problems, and that's relatable to kids as well because kids can learn about that.
Well, it's also like people like to think that kids don't think about some of this stuff. And I mean, kids have their own stresses, their own problems. That was one of the reasons why Spider-Man was so popular, the comic book when it first came out, was because at the time, people were telling Stan Lee, no one's going to care. No one wants to see a flawed superhero have a problem. And then he's like, "Well, I'm going to do this anyway." Does it. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, Spider-Man's great." Like, I relate so much to this character because he's not rich like Bruce Wayne, or he's not perfect like Clark Kent. He's a kid who's learning about what the hell's going on with his powers. And then as the I'm learning, about growing up. And that's the thing I like about, like, Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi one, is he's living in like a shit ass apartment. He's barely making money, yet he's like the most popular superhero in the city. And it's kind of like, yeah, that's what I like about the video game too. This guy's still struggling like other people, even though he's Spider-Man. It's just
Yeah.
an added stress. And that would be the thing I'd like to see, as opposed to like, let me try to kind of navigate high school, even though I'm arguably decently liked and I have, this like girlfriend and these friends, and there's really no problem other than the problems I create for myself. And it's just like, well, that's the resolution is you.
Yeah. All the problems that Peter faces in these MCU movies, they're all his own self-made problems.
Right.
Like, oh
And that's
wow, I'm getting picked on by this little shithead. Well,
right.
fucking kick his ass. Like, you don't have to beat him up like Spider-Man, but you can fight him as Peter, kick his ass, and be like, "Listen, bitch, shut up." And then that
It's not
there's
even
the end of
like,
your problem. And then you can go,
yeah.
"Hey, I want to go talk to this girl. I'm fucking Spider-Man. What's stopping me, Peter Parker?" Like, okay, go do that.
But see, and that's my
Problem solved.
problem with
But
it
and then
is,
now it's like, okay, you see the video game. He's
yeah.
got relationship issues with Mary Jane, but he's not immature about it. Like he goes
Mhm.
and talks to her and stuff. He tries to resolve these issues. He's also got that love triangle with her and Black Cat. And
Mhm.
then you also have not married, Aunt May, who's running that soup kitchen.
Yeah, let's give Aunt
And
May something to do. This is something that's pissing me off in like all of them. And I think like maybe, I mean, I haven't watched the Amazing Spider-Man movies in a while, but like Aunt May was at least in the first iteration of these movies like a voice, like a conscience for Peter, and so like she had something to do. We are, in my opinion, we're wasting a great actress, Marissa Tomei, on these movies where she's just like comic relief. She has maybe 5 minutes of screen time at best. Maybe more like 30 seconds of screen time in either of these movies, and she doesn't do anything. She's just kind of there.
she's just there to look good in mom jeans. That's literally it. Like you take the character of Mary Jane, not Mary Jane. I keep saying Aunt May, and
Yeah,
she actually has a very huge impact on Peter's life. It's not just that she's an aunt that's like there. Like she
yeah.
actually teaches him things. Like in Spider-Man 3, she
Hmm.
gives him her ring. Like, give this to Mary Jane. This is my ring that
Yeah.
that your uncle gave me. It's like that's huge for Peter.
Well, it's not even just that too. I mean, she does that, which is great, and frankly, it gives her character depth. But
Mhm.
same time, in Spider-Man 1, she gets, and 2, she gets kidnapped by the bad guy, and we're doing something with this character. We're showing an emotional connection between Peter and Aunt May, and we don't I just don't feel like the chill out best friend parent archetype is really working in these new
Yeah.
ones, in the sense that it's like checking all those boxes. It's fine to have, and I think it should be there. I think it's an interesting take here, and one that, is definitely more modern and updated. But we're not getting like, I guess I just don't feel like we're getting May being a parent in the sense that the past iterations, comic book and film, Aunt Mays have been. And
We're
it's,
getting this. We're getting like a stepmom version of Aunt May
right, we're getting
versus
like
an
a
actual
buddy,
like
yeah,
versus somebody that's actually like trying to teach their son a lesson. We know it's an aunt and nephew relationship, but Aunt May in prior iterations, it was a mom and a son. It
right,
wasn't just, "Hey, you're my nephew. Good luck." Like it wasn't one of
right.
those things. Like in the video game, which is I praise this video game all the
Oh my god,
time.
the ending of
And
that video game is heartbreaking.
and
Speaking of Aunt May.
that's the thing. Good movies and good entertainment in general is going to draw emotion out of you.
Right.
So when you take this ending from the PS4 Spider-Man game, um, and I don't want to say too many spoilers, but basically, um, to anybody who hasn't played the game and to anybody that hasn't seen like the cutscene like compilation video on YouTube, and if you don't want to play the game or if you don't have a PS4, go watch that compilation video. It's like watching a movie. And
Oh, yeah.
I've been saying this for a while now since the game has came out. It's one of my favorite video games ever.
I am so ready for a sequel.
Yeah.
It's one of the games where like the minute the DLC came out, I was on it, and I usually kind of sit on that for a lot of games just because I'm just as it's like watching a movie, it's like watching a show.
Well,
And I
yeah.
mean, you get more character development, I think, in that ending than arguably maybe any of the Spider-Man movies that have been made. I mean,
Well,
just what
and,
happens at the end is so much where you go, yes, that is Spider-Man, and yes, that is Aunt May, and yes, that is these characters, and it's just so heavy. It
and
makes
everybody is like, you see the selflessness of Peter, you see the selflessness of Aunt May, you see how people try to take care of each other in this video game.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, you're trying to follow the relationship thing with Peter. You're trying to follow the relationship between him and Aunt May's boss. You're
Yeah.
trying to you're trying to have this mentor thing between him and Miles, and
Mm,
all these things are going on, and you're like, is this seriously a video game?
yeah,
Like
and I mean, it
they
balances
this
it
is
so well.
they
Like,
put this in
you
a
are
video
watching.
game. Like Call of Duty, you go around, you shoot people. Cool.
Yeah.
Halo, you're a Spartan. You go shoot things. Cool.
Well,
Like,
that's where you're highlighting a good point is, and I think, Star Wars Fallen Order, Jedi Fallen Order, however the title, that wonky title that game goes, like,
yeah,
that's I don't know if you played that, but, like, that's a really great game too as far I mean, with a
I
lot of
haven't
these,
yet, but I heard good things about it, like you're
it's
about to tell me.
it's really good. I won't go too into the plot or anything, but I mean, like, it's a really good game, and I mean, you have that game, you have Spider-Man, you have God of War, you have these like AAA, finally getting some AAA titles that are single player. I don't have to play them online. I don't have to be doing like a grinding first person shooter for once. And I'm really hoping that we just keep up with that because like those are arguably some of the best games to come out, maybe even in like the past 5 to 10 years. And I mean, these are single player. I don't need to be, or at least shouldn't have to be online to play them. And yet I'm getting a great plot. I'm getting great mechanics. I'm getting a fun and replayable gameplay.
And they gave you a full game. It
Yeah,
wasn't like
exactly.
you had to wait for other things to be added on. When they added on things like different suits, different side missions, different stuff like that, that was just free extra stuff that you got with the
Mhm.
game. They just downloaded it on your thing,
But it
which was
was also
amazing.
like with the DLC, um, you get, you get those suits and stuff, but you got to earn them by playing the plot, you know?
Yeah. No, you have to actually earn it too. And that's the thing. You can have fun and do little cool side mission stuff and get cool suits and wacky costumes. Like you
Yeah.
can be him in his underwear with a mask on,
Right.
but you can still, enjoy the story mode and stuff like that. Real quick, Ray's Double Dong, what's up, brother? If they make a sequel, should they make it a crossover with other superheroes? Um,
Did you ever play Spider-Man Web of Shadows for the PS3?
yes, briefly, but I did.
Um Up until this Spider-Man game, I maybe in like a small amount of people, I don't know, who like really really liked that game. Like I was like this is like the best Spider-Man game I've played. It was like a cool plot where you're dealing with like Venom and all other sort of things. But in that you did have cameos, I think most notably of Wolverine, and you do have like interactions with them or you work with them. I think if a sequel did something along those lines where it's not you're just kind of playing as Spider-Man in the Avengers, but you are dealing with the oh thanks you too um but if you are dealing with like yeah oh look it's Wolverine because they all take place in New York, it gets kind of difficult to like ignore these things, especially when you set up oh hey I found Doctor Strange's house or I'm at Avengers Tower. Like you're gonna run into these people. And I think making it just that, like run in, maybe they help with a mission or two, or you help them with a mission or two, and it's over. Cool. Like that's fine with me. I don't want to make it too much of a crossover because then you just start doing what we were complaining about with the MCU stuff. Is you just kind of have. I think that's one of the things I hate like about Captain America, quote unquote, Civil War. It's just it's an Avengers movie. It's not a Captain America movie, except that maybe we're spending a little bit more time on Captain America, but it really could have just been an Avengers movie and it was fine. And I don't want Spider-Man 2, the video game, to be an Avengers 2 game. If
Yeah,
that Avengers game ever comes out. So, yeah.
that
That's
Avengers
kind of how I
game
feel
looks
about
so
it.
bad.
I don't know how I feel, but I haven't. At first, I thought it would be cool, and then I kind of just was like, I'm kind of burnt out on the Avengers, and just sort of was like, whatever. I haven't followed it at all. I think I heard it got pushed back, but I could be making that up. I don't know.
It I think it got pushed back, but it looks so bad.
Hmm.
Like the characters look terrible, first of all, except for Iron Man. Iron Man don't look terrible, but
That's because he's a
it's
robot.
it's hard. Yeah, but it's so hard to get these characters to make them say like you look at Black Widow in the game and it looks like Bruce Jenner. You're like, what is happening here?
Well, I mean, that's I don't know. Like, I remember when they first were releasing some of the trailers, I thought they said that was like based in the beta or maybe even the alpha. In which case, I'm just like, don't release trailers then. Just wait till you have a more complete version. But
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, I think you're also going to have the jarring problem of like, oh, the voice acting is different. So like Tony Stark isn't going to sound like Robert Downey Jr. and so forth. And I think that whether people realize it or not might be kind of a turnoff for some people, probably more like younger people, kids and stuff who are playing this game and they're going like, how come he doesn't sound right? Like this is weird. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just looks like Avengers, and I'm kind of burnt out on Avengers as far as it goes. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, it can come out. If it's good, maybe I'll pick it up when it's on sale or something, but I'm not gunning for it.
Yeah, I don't really. I'm not that interested in in that game. Honestly, it's also the main character you play as. Apparently, it's Miss Marvel.
Oh, really?
So that's what's pissing a lot of people off, me included, because I could give a less shit about Miss Marvel. I
Like
don't want to.
Miss Marvel, not Captain Marvel, like Miss
Yeah,
Marvel?
like the
Huh.
stretchy hands.
Yeah.
Like, who gives a shit?
Well, I
Like,
mean,
I don't. I'm
that's
not buying a
weird.
game to play as her. I'm buying a game to play as Captain America, to play as the Hulk, like all these other cool characters. I don't
Yeah.
really give a shit about Miss Marvel and her stretchy hands. You
Well, I
know?
mean, make her a playable character. That's fine. It's just kind of interesting to be like, here's an Avengers game, and you're playing as Miss Marvel. Like, especially after you've established, like, okay, the movie Avengers are Thor and Hulk and Black Widow and Iron Man and Captain America, and like, this is your core group, and here's this other character. I mean, I guess as a plot, if it's like her trying to get in with the Avengers, it's one thing, but I wouldn't advertise it as an Avengers game. That's just kind of misleading at the very least.
Yeah. No, it's like if you look at when they talk about the game, they're like, "Yeah, this is like her journey." It's like, who fucking cares, bro?
Well, I mean, at that point, just make a Miss Marvel game. Like, you're just basically using
That's what I'm
Avengers
saying.
IP to sell a game. I mean, sure, you want to make a Miss Marvel game, that's fine. Arguably, it could be a fun game. I mean, she's got interesting powers, it'd be cool. But if you're gonna be like, oh, we play as Iron Man and whatnot, but mostly not that, then it's just like, well, it's a one-off, not that thing, you know?
Yeah, no, and I mean, if you want to make her a character, a playable character, not the main character, then that's fine. Like you go on a mission and it's like, oh hey, there's Miss Marvel and Ghost Rider and whatever. That's oh cool. Not,
Well,
I
did you
don't
ever
think there's.
play Ultimate Alliance?
Yes.
So I mean, like I haven't played the third one, but the first two, it just kind of comes off like this Avengers game seems so close to that, like kind of like a Dragon's Age mixed with Ultimate Alliance.
Yeah.
Like you just kind of like I'm jumping between these like 5 or 6 characters, and they're all autonomously doing things until I take control of them, and then I'm doing something special, which like could be a cool game and maybe should have been the direction this goes. But then you get really dangerously close to this is just Ultimate Alliance with less people, which is
Yeah.
kind of like, well, then what's the point? I'll just go play Ultimate Alliance. I get to play as everybody plus more people.
I think the fact that they're making this game seem like you can play missions and then just switch off individually
Hmm.
instead of Ultimate Alliance, you have the group there the whole time. You just switch them different characters who you can play as. Like in this game, it's like, okay, you have a third person view of Iron Man, and
Hmm.
then you can see in the background Hulk smashing people or whatever.
Right.
But you don't have to have like this aerial view. And that's what I was expecting it to be. Or you could do the whole. Have you played Lord of the Rings War in the North.
No, I haven't.
You can select between three people. It's similar to just the regular story of Lord of the Rings, but you have a ranger, you have an elf that's a wizard, and then you have a dwarf.
Hmm.
And you can play the story mode as the ranger, play the story mode as the elf or the dwarf.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've
But
played
you
a few
can't
games
but
that
you
do
can't
that kind of approach.
yeah, but you can switch off.
Hmm.
So you start the mission, who am I going to play as? Oh, I'll be the wizard. Okay.
Right.
So you play as the wizard the whole time. That's what I thought this was going to be like, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be a very highly marketed game, but not a very satisfying one.
Yeah, and I think that's was talking about with games like Fallen Order or Spider-Man or God of War is that these games were pretty they were advertised like yeah pretty okay, and then they got that kind of word of mouth going and they were advertised even more. But I'm worried that like a game like Avengers is going and we're gonna be you know sitting on it, and it's like okay cool like this game isn't very good, but here's a bunch of ads about this game that's not very good. You should play it, but it's not great. So sorry. And it's just like, oh, this stinks. Um,
Unfortunately, that's what it's coming down to, really. Itapukuyan said Kamala Khan is the
mm.
main character. You racist. Yeah, we're all racist because we don't want to play as Kamala Khan.
well,
That's
I just think, I don't know. I guess I just think it's more a disservice to the character, maybe to hide it under if what you're saying. I mean, again, I haven't read a lot about the Avengers game recently, so I mean, like if it is like you're playing as Miss Marvel, I mean, it's not. I'd rather it be like a Miss Marvel game. It just seems like you're kind of using Avengers IP to sell a game that's not actually an Avengers game. And it's like, I don't know, maybe I just look at it more positively, but I think people would be happier if like you're gonna make her the main character, make her front and center. Let's not, wrap it up in something else. Make it Avengers, make it a, Miss Marvel game.
but look at this poster. It's like you have Captain America and all these other guys, and then it's like her, and she
Right.
kind of blends in. You're like, wait, what?
See, you want to make it a game about her becoming an Avenger. Make that poster. She's up front and the Avengers are like silhouetted behind her or something. Like you can make your Miss Marvel game. I don't have a problem playing as Miss Marvel. I just don't want to be lied to. I mean, look at all these other pictures. I don't want to be lied to and told I'm going to be playing an Avengers game. Oh, wait, no, this is a story of how Miss Marvel becomes an Avenger. I
But
don't know.
this was the trailer.
Yeah.
Like it was
You
these guys.
played as like Captain America or Hulk or something, I thought in the beginning, or Thor. You played as like Thor in the beta or something that they
Yeah,
showed. I don't remember.
but they never showed her in the trailer. Like that big release that everyone was
Mhm.
talking about. You didn't see Kamala Khan in there.
No, it's
So
interesting.
why the hell are you gonna make her the main character?
No,
Like
and
you
it's
have these
what's
promo pictures.
curious because like why? Because and I genuinely think it's sort of the crappier end of like, hey, we're gonna try to get you to buy this game to pre-order this game before you realize what game you're gonna get. That's why I don't. That's really my problem with it. Is it's like make your Miss Marvel game. That's fine. Call it a Miss Marvel game. I'm cool with even occasionally playing as the Avengers or showing the Avengers showing up. If the plot is her, becoming an Avenger, that's kind of cool because that's playing sort of this character who probably doesn't really get a lot of I mean, I've never seen her on screen, you don't really I'm not familiar with the character too much, but it's like you can have this character's growth, a character we arguably haven't seen a whole lot in the context of these Avengers who are these big great heroes. Basically, you get Spider-Man Homecoming. Um
Yeah,
but you play it and it's with a character you might not be super familiar with. So it's different. It's something else. And I would probably like that more than an Avengers game that's kind of maybe a lie because that's kind of how it feels. Is it's like I'd rather just be buying a Miss Marvel game instead of an Avengers game, you know? And it just kind of comes off like let's not show you playing as her because we'll get a bunch of people to pre-order it, and then when they get it it turns out it's not really what they want, and I mean like that's going to be worse. Like this game's going to flop if that's the case.
I think
So
it's
who
going
knows?
to. I mean, you see the trailers of Iron Man. This looks cool. Like
Yeah.
this. I mean, this looks way more fun than your average video game. Because how many video games out there can you play as Thor? Can you play as Hulk, Iron Man?
Yeah.
You know, which one is this? Yeah, Thor.
Yeah.
Like, look at that. That's awesome.
No, it looks cool. And I
But
mean, that's if you get to do that, that's cool, but, it needs to be the game you're making,
but
not
nobody's gonna want to play as. If I can zoom in,
no, you can't on there. It's not worth it.
whatever.
Yeah, don't worry
I
about it.
have a touch screen, so I was like,
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's just insane.
I think it's just make it the game you wanted to make. Don't lie about it just to sell copies. In the long run, you're screwing yourself, so
But
but yeah. But yeah, we have
so
been talking about
on
games.
on the topic of video games, let's go ahead and jump on over to the 30 best PS4 video games. Let me just hide this real quick. Now, before we get into the article, or not article, but just list, what are
Listed.
your like top PS4 games? Because I know you got the PS4 right when it came out, and
Yeah, I
we
did.
would play Injustice on there a lot.
Yeah, when that thing that's what I'm kinda worried about with the PS5 is when I got the PS4, it was a lot of titles that were out for it. I remember I originally wanted Destiny, and they were like, "No, that's not coming out till, August or whatever," and I was like, "Okay, how about this game?" They're like, "Yeah, that one got pushed back too. Your options are Assassin's Creed Black Flag or Killzone 3," or whatever it was, and I was like, I guess I play those Assassin's Creed games, so I'll get the fourth one of those." And I mean, in the long run, it's was a great investment. I'm happy I have it. At the beginning, it kind of sucked, but just to have the one game and you're kind of screwed for months waiting for everything else to come out. But yeah, I mean, my top four PS4 games, I mean, off the top of my head, if we're talking like PS4 exclusives, oh, probably, I mean, God of War and Spider-Man are arguably fighting over that top spot. I think Spider-Man kind of takes it on that one.
Oh, Spider-Man just unfortunately it doesn't get the credit. I mean, as much as it should, because anyone and their mom who is an actual video game fan and that loves actual stories
Right.
will know that Spider-Man takes the cake. But unfortunately, you got a lot of people that are like Call of Duty. It's like, okay,
Well, I mean,
there's
I'm
a
just trying to
story
think
there, but it's
exclusive,
not
you know?
to the extent.
Yeah. And that's my thing is I'm like, okay, like when it's like, what are the top PS4 games? I'm over here thinking, okay, what's an exclusive PS4 game that like, I've played that I really enjoyed? Um, and like Spider-Man's one of them. Spider-Man, God of War, easily top two. I think Horizon Zero Dawn is probably up there. That's a surprisingly good game.
I heard it was pretty good.
It's really good. My wife played it more than I did. Just she got more into it and had more time at the time to play it, and I mean, it was really cool. Um, and it's just like a cool world, and a lot of this too is the reason. I mean, like the thing about some of these games is that they're really using the hardware. So it's like you're getting a pretty decent graphics output. You're getting like a really good looking game. And that's what makes me really, if the specs are to be believed for the PlayStation 5, which it sounds like they should be,
Hopefully.
I'm really hoping like, oh shoot, like I'm gonna get to play these AAA games in 4K and they're gonna look really great. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I think those probably are easily my top three as far as games I've recently played on the PS that are like Sony exclusive games. Um, Other games I played that I think you can get other places. I mean, like Journey. That's another. I think no, it's not. But the video game called Journey. It's like a smaller. I guess at the time I got it, it was like an indie game. I don't know how much it is that anymore. But that game was just. It's a beautiful game. If you could find it, it's just like you're a little character going through a desert. Your whole goal is to get up a mountain. It's the music is beautiful. The visuals are beautiful.
Hmm.
It's just a downright fun, beautiful game. Like you get the emotional hit and there's nobody talks. There's no words in the game at all. And it's short. You just play through and you're done. And frankly, I mean, the replay value is through the roof. You can just replay it again. So yeah, I mean, like those would be like my top ones. I think just off the top of my head would be Spider-Man, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Journey as
Well,
just
let's see.
like those.
Yeah, I want to try the Horizon one a lot. I've been seeing that in the store, and a lot of these games have been
Mhm.
discounted a lot. So,
Oh, especially
um,
now, there's a lot of discounts going around for games. It's pretty cool.
I bought a handful of them actually, and they're actually like old Xbox and PS4 games that I got on the PlayStation Network.
Yeah.
But one of them that I bought it for my girlfriend was Monster Hunter World.
Yeah, how is that? I
Sh-
was thinking about getting on my computer, but I've been like hearing that there are some spec issues as far as graphics go.
It looks like it looks like an anime game.
Well,
Like
yeah.
the graphics look like a real life, but the layout of the game and the style of the game and the characters, it's like an anime.
Okay. I
But
mean, there's
it
nothing wrong with that.
but it looks really good. My girlfriend's been playing it. I haven't even played it yet. I mean, she loves stuff like that.
Yeah.
She just bought World of Warcraft
Mm.
last night, so she's been playing that since. Um, but yeah, so that looks good. But let's see if any of these games are on this list. So this is going to be coming from GamesRadar.com. So the 30 best PS4 games to play right now. And I mean, hell, we got time to play them. Check them
Yeah.
out. And if you need to go to the store, just get in and out, get the game. I mean, don't waste any time. But
Digital. I mean, shoot, just get it
or
digital.
digital, yeah. If you guys are able to, um, if you can download games on your PlayStation or Xbox, I mean, I'm all for that. I've been doing that. I've been having to clear some space on
Hmm.
my PlayStation. I had to
Oh,
delete
dude,
Red.
just buy another external hard drive. It'll save your life. I did
That
that a while
that's
ago.
what I need to do. Yeah, I've been looking at those. Like I deleted Red Dead Redemption just because I didn't really play it too much, but it took up so much space, and I'm just like, oh my god. So I've
Yeah.
been downloading like all these old PlayStation 2 games or
Mhm.
Xbox games, and it's like 4 megabytes, and I'm like, oh shit, like that's nothing. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, some of it's small, some of it's gargantuanly big. I bought another terabyte drive and just plugged it in. That was the big thing I hated about the PS3 was like I had to transfer everything and it's such a bear. You couldn't plug in an external, so but you can with the PS4, so I highly suggest it to anybody out there suffering from space problems. Just get an external, plug it in, dedicate
I,
it to your PS4, you'll be better off.
yeah, I heard that the PS5 is going to be backwards compatible with the PS4, so
Thank
if we
God.
can, so you can get that hard drive. Yeah, you can just like hopefully just plug it into that and then download everything. So hopefully that works. But I
Yeah.
was looking at before we get into the list too far, number 30 real quick, Kingdom Hearts
Mhm.
3. I didn't play it. I don't
I
know.
biggest disappointment I think of
Really?
2019. Yeah, I mean, I was super stoked, like I was big in the Kingdom Hearts franchise. As far as like the PlayStation games go, I didn't have a DS at the time, so I didn't like play the other ones that came out. But I got the remasters. I played through. It was fun, just as fun to play through the first and second one, and then revisit visit for the first time some of the other ones that I never played before. But this game came out, and it was just like, really, this is it. Like it's more, in my opinion, it was more cutscene than game. And don't get me wrong, like the gameplay was fun, and it looks really pretty, and it was really like you do some cool stuff if you're into like the Disney thing. You get to see a lot of like some cool Disney characters and whatnot. But I just felt like half the time I was watching cutscenes, and I was just like, I played
Dang.
for 5 minutes, and now I'm watching like a 10 to 15 minute cutscene, and it furthers the plot, but it also ran the risk of like if you didn't play all those like Game Boy Advance or or Nintendo DS games, you're a little lost on like what the hell's going on. Like I
That's
had to like
disappointing.
read some stuff before I played it, and I was like, that's really, this really sucks. You're calling your game Kingdom Hearts 3. It comes out I think 10 years after Kingdom Hearts 2 came out or something like that. And you're just like, yeah, I hope you guys get it. And I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. I had to like stop and watch a YouTube video before I continued playing it. And I mean, it was just really like in that regard, story wise, it was kind of disappointing because I was like, oh, I feel like in order to understand this game, I would have had to have purchased like 2 other video game systems and 5 other games, and that just kind of stinks. It was fun though. The parts you get to play were fun.
I played the first one when it came out in PS2. I actually own it,
Yeah.
but I never got into the second one. And
Second one
I
was
mean,
great. I
was
really liked
three
the second one.
really? Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's the third one. I heard good things, and then I've heard some other bad things about it aside from you. But
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just. I mean, if you want to play a game and have a lot of cutscenes, go for it. But
Yeah, I mean, if you like playing
personally,
yeah. Yeah,
personally, I want to play way more than you have cutscenes. But I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's decent. Hopefully, if they make another one, they can update it more and not do so many. But 29, we got Dark Souls 3. I think I own one of them, but it's too hard. Have you ever played a Dark Souls
no,
game?
I've never played a Dark Souls game. I will say that like Star Wars Fallen Order kind of follows what I've been told is a Dark Souls sort of format. So I
That's what I
understand
heard.
the format. It took me a minute to get used to it and to arguably like it. But after you get used to it and you're like digging it, it's rewarding.
I know Sal played it and Sal beat it and he loves that game. That's one of his favorite games and
Dark Souls or Jedi?
the Jedi one and
Oh, I agree.
the
It's
game
a fun game.
style. I mean,
Yeah, the game style's fun. It has a great plot, like a really interesting like personally as far as Star Wars is concerned, like I kind of would love it to like maybe move a bit into like the Clone Wars territory, but we're not quite doing that
they're just going to stick with the
season. But
Empire and all of that. And
and I mean it's their safe bet, and that's arguably fine, I guess, from their standpoint. But I mean, this game at least takes it to where you finally are learning some like Force lore stuff, some like Star Wars kind of lore. And I mean, it's really cool. Like you are talking about like Jedi doing and like you go to Ilum and stuff. And I mean it was really refreshing to get that as opposed to just like I don't know. I guess I feel like maybe in some of these new movies, as far as the approach to the Jedi have been concerned, it's kind of just like a thing. You are a Jedi and you can do this thing, and we're just going to leave it at that, and we're going to move along with whatever we have going. But I don't know. As far as those new movies are concerned, less about said about them, the better. I think it's just kind of they didn't know what they were doing, so whatever.
well, hopefully that spawns another one. And
Oh,
I
for
mean,
sure, or at
once
least
it
a
discounts a
DLC or
lot,
something.
I'm willing to give it a shot. I just don't want to buy the game. But if somebody has it, I mean, I'd definitely try it out. And, 28 got Death Stranding. Never played it. Looks
I've only
weird.
seen some, I've seen some gameplay of it. It looks maybe a little tedious for me, but it looks like
Yeah,
a pretty crazy game. It looks pretty bonkers, for lack of a better word. Not bad. I mean, it looks really interesting, and it's a pretty game to look at, but I don't know if I'd like I don't know if I have the patience for playing it.
you can tell this is definitely like a Japanese like made game. Just the story and everything. Hideo Kojima.
Kojima? Yeah.
It's one of his stories, so you can kind of tell it's just kind of out there.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, if it's good, it's good. I've been seeing good, decent reviews on it. You can get it on Amazon apparently for $25,
Hmm.
which is pretty cool. So I don't know. I would give it a shot. Like I said, like a lot of these games on this list, I would try them. I just don't want to buy a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I miss
No,
Blockbuster.
it's one of those ones where I'm just like, yeah, I'll wait. I'll wait till it gets cheaper or something. That's fine.
Let's go down to 27 at Final Fantasy. There's so many damn Final Fantasies.
Well, now they're remaking the seventh one, I think, as Raise Double Dong over here's pointing out.
Really?
Yeah, they're remaking Final Fantasy VII for PS4. It's been in the works for a long time. And it's supposed to be, I guess, pretty different than the original Final Fantasy VII was. I
Hmm.
haven't played it, so I don't know. But I had a friend of mine who was like really into those games and was really waiting for that remake. And I guess like they're changing up the gameplay. I believe you're supposed to be able to play it either as like kind of a Kingdom Hearts style gameplay where you're kind of running around with your sword, or you can play it in like a classic Final Fantasy turn-based style. But I
Huh.
heard the plot's a little different. I also heard it's kind of being released in multiple pieces, so it's not that it's not finished. It's just like the whole game would be huge. So you're getting like, Final Fantasy VII, the first part, second part, third part, or something like that.
Hmm.
It's been a while since I checked up on that game, but that's one of those
Mhm.
ones where I'm like, I'll wait for it to come out, like let it get cheap, and then I'm more than happy to play it. I mean, it looks fun enough, and it looks really pretty to look at. So
That's what I like about. That's how I feel about a lot of games. Like I'll wait for it to get cheap and then buy it or try it
yeah,
out. But I don't know. Final Fantasy, I don't mind role playing. Not role playing.
yeah, it's in a role playing game. Yeah,
Like what do you call it?
like
Turn based.
the turn based stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't mind that, but it's just something about Final Fantasy. I'm just like, I'm good.
I think if you give
Wolfen,
me a heavy enough plot, I'd be cool with it. I mean, it's like, I can't say I don't like them because I'll play Pokemon, but give me a decent plot with some of the ones that aren't Pokemon, and I might be more intrigued by it. Which Final Fantasy VII sounds like it has, so I'll give it a shot.
I'm willing to try it out. Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus. No
Never played it.
idea.
I heard the Wolfenstein games are great. I mean, I got nothing against them. I just haven't played it.
It's, another shooting game. I'm
Yeah,
down. I mean, it's of course talking about Nazis, which
yeah,
is
shooting
how it.
Nazis. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. You got Doom at 25. Now this is not Doom Eternal. This is
Oh, this is the Doom.
the
Okay, that's what I was
reboot.
gonna ask. Is this Doom Eternal or Doom? Yeah, this is the Doom remake. I heard Doom Eternal's good too.
Me too. Yeah, I want to try it. I've never been too into like I don't know why. Like, say I'll go to like Dave and Buster's or something, and
Mhm.
I'll see a game where you actually pick up the plastic gun and shoot monsters, and I like that. But I've never like gotten on my console and been like, I want to play this monster game. Like, I don't know. I don't know why, but
Yeah, I mean I don't know. I've never played it. I mean, I've never played like the new Doom games. I remember like playing around with the old ones a little bit, but it's just kind of that's it. You blow stuff up, you run away. It's cool, and that's it. It's just a mindless shooter. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing, you know, you don't gotta think too hard as it kind of boils down. But yeah, I mean, I had no problem with Doom. Doom probably deserves to be up there. It's a classic game at the very least. So.
let me see. It's on New Egg. I don't know what that is
Oh yeah,
right
they had
now.
a sale. They had a sale for this game on Newegg. You could get it for like $5 last week or something like that. I kind of regret
Damn.
not getting it, but I don't think it was. I don't think it was PlayStation. I think it was on PC. But
I
yeah,
gotta check it out on Amazon to see because this picture right here looks pretty cool. So I'm down. I mean, I got like I said, we all got a lot of time for just hanging out
yeah,
at home. So I mean,
yeah.
I'm down for that.
Engaged in some hobbies.
Real quick before we get on number 24, Chris Wicks is Ray's double dong. He's got to head out. Thanks for joining, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, check us
Yeah.
out on the replay and yeah, man. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it, brother. Let's see. And ETEP earlier said the power set she has makes Plastic Man look appealing.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't really care too much about
I never cared for stretchy superheroes.
Mr. Fantastic. Just, I
I mean,
mean,
all of it's just kind of gross, right? Like I can stretch any part of my body. Like my arm will just stretch down the hallway. I'm like, that's kind of nasty. Like
well,
I don't
it's
need
like,
that.
well, if you're like Deadpool, you just cut that shit.
But I mean, it's just like I don't know. It's just weird. I don't stretching is like probably one of my top 10 worst superpowers that I would never ever want to have.
Does it make you stronger since you can stretch, or does it like,
Or is it like, if I stretch my arm now, like if I'm sitting here in my office, I stretch my arm to the kitchen. If someone like pokes my arm, my now stretched out arm between here and the kitchen, like, am I going to feel that the same as am I going to feel it more? Am I not going to feel it at all? Like,
is it going to be less dense than what
I
it is
mean,
when it's normal?
right.
Like,
There's like so many biological questions I have with it. Like, are my nerves stretching? Are they being more spaced out? Like, am I not able to feel as much in my arm because it's longer, but the same number of nerve endings? Like, what is happening? It's a gross superpower. Don't like thinking about it.
yeah, exactly. Like, I understand the whole concept of flying. Like, you kind of use your own willpower and inner strength to shoot forward. And if you
Yeah,
want to fly
sure.
faster, it's just more straining probably and more of ugh.
Yeah, I mean, flying
Like
is one of those
I
like,
can understand.
you do it how you do it, whatever. But when it comes to something like stretching, it's so based in like the organics of your body that it's like, flying is you can even say like I'm telekinetically making myself float around and fly around. That's cool. Fine, whatever. I can suspend disbelief you're doing that. But when it comes to stretching, it's like you are in a human body and you are stretching. What about your body has now changed for you to do that? And like, what does that mean? It's just gross to think about. Like, I don't know. It's just nasty. Like, I
Like
don't
your
like it.
bones, like
Right. Like, can I
your
break a
bones
bone
flatten.
now? Can I just like jump off a skyscraper and just bounce? Is it going to hurt me? Or do I still like take shock the same way? Like, it becomes just such a problem when you think about it, and it's not like flying where you just go like, "Ah, flying is whatever," or you try to think about it and you're like, "That just doesn't make sense, it just can't happen."
Now, do you
Stretching
tense
is like,
like
ugh.
do you tense up when you go in the cold water, or
Well,
can
yeah,
you
I mean,
can you
what
still take
happened?
hot showers and still like retain your figure? Like I don't know. There's so
Yeah.
many questions.
Do you melt now? Or like, what like, what?
You're just like
Yeah,
butter.
it's not a fun thing to think about, and I just don't like it. I think it's a dumb superpower to have.
Dishonored 2.
I
Now I
played
haven't
Dishonored
played this.
1. That was
Yeah, Dishonored 1's awesome.
yeah. I never
Uh,
played Dishonored 2. I heard it was good, but I never played it.
let's see, Newegg 14.99. Yeah, I'm down to try it. Not that
Yeah.
much money. I'll download it. You got Rise of the Tomb Raider.
I have not played the Tomb Raider games, I'll be honest.
Me
I
neither.
thought I got the first new one for free on my computer the other day, but it looks like it didn't go through, and that really irritates me. But aside from that, my wife has played the crap out of I think specifically Rise of the Tomb Raider, and she really enjoyed it. And
Oh,
it
cool.
looks like a really cool game. Like it's sort of like your Uncharted thing, but you got, Laura Croft instead of Nathan Drake. And I mean, I think this one did it first. So you're just kind of like playing as her, and it looks really nice. It has a pretty cool gameplay. It's a lot more down to earth than say something like Spider-Man. Like you are moving like a person, not
Yeah,
like
it's more
a
realistic.
superhero. Yeah.
Like
And
your
it's pretty
jumps are
cool.
probably going to be very minimal because you can't really jump. Like you can't double jump in real life. So
Exactly. Like you jumping is just a person jumping. Like you're not, leaping over a building or yeah, and double jumping. That's a great example of it.
like that's I mean that could be either be bad or that could be pretty good. But
Yeah.
from what I've heard, these new Tomb Raider games are pretty cool. So
Yeah, they definitely I'm kinda curious what Shadow of the Tomb Raider looks like, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
yeah, we got Fallout 4. Now there is a lot of controversy on this one.
I couldn't get into this game. I bought it and I tried playing it and I was like, "It's okay," but I guess
Yeah,
it's different than Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas as far as the gameplay goes because it just kinda became like Skyrim with guns, and it's just, like, not as
yeah.
fun.
I love Skyrim and I got it for my
Same,
PlayStation 4, but I could not get into Fallout. I played one
same.
of back when Blockbuster was like around, but it was towards the end. I played like the more recent Fallout game at that time,
Yeah.
and I thought it was lame. I was like, I don't want to play this shit. Like,
I liked Fallout 3, I liked Fallout New Vegas. I know New Vegas is a lot different than the others, but like those were fun. I don't know, like Fallout 4, it was I mean, I kind of actually agree with you, Sal, over here in the comments. Like Fallout 4 was, I guess, fun for what it was. I maybe have a little bit more of like a negative spin on it, but it just didn't, it hold my attention for like a little bit, and I would lose time playing this game just because of some of the like when you're building like your base and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, oh my god, it's like suddenly 5 o'clock. I've been playing since 10 a.m. But I don't know, like I would fall off it really quick and just not pick it up for long periods of time and just kind of whatever. Though I could never bring myself to get rid of the dog as a companion. Like anytime it was like, oh, you should have this person instead of the dog, I was like, get the hell out of here, dog all the way. Otherwise, you got to deal with. I think the game had a mechanic where like you if you stole something, like people might not like that. Um, but the dog, dog was always with you. Dog didn't give a shit what you were doing, didn't judge you, and I'm down with the dog.
see, that's pretty cool. But I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. Something about that, just the world, like Skyrim with guns. I don't know.
Yeah, it just makes it. Honestly, I think it makes it a little bit more difficult than Skyrim because Skyrim you just beat stuff up.
You shoot
Whereas in
magic
this,
at people.
it made it a little clunky.
Titanfall 2.
Oh, okay, that's something. Sal mentions over here that I didn't get deep enough into the game, I think, to get that, but that's interesting. That having different companions opened up different quests. That's about it, but
Huh.
that's something interesting. I didn't realize that was part of the game. But anyway, Titanfall 2.
I could care less. I heard it
I
was
never
cool. It's
I
just
heard it was
robots and
great.
people.
I heard, if I recall, I think this game actually kind of had like a sad bit to it because it came out and I think either people just weren't about it or something. Maybe it was cross-platform, but it was like a big thing where it was like Titanfall 2 is a legitimately good game. It's just that nobody plays it anymore for one reason or another. And
Huh.
you're sort of stuck like, okay, the servers aren't real. There's nobody playing it. It's a multiplayer game. If no one's playing it, what's the point? And it kind of kills itself, even though I've heard it's actually a pretty good game. But I
Um,
never played it myself. I think I actually downloaded it when it was on, touched it.
hmm. Damn,
Maybe
what
I
a what a price jump. It goes from 12.49 on eBay to 34.86 on Amazon.
Jeez.
Damn. Let's move on to the next page. I mean, if you haven't played the game, I know you can't be gone for. I mean, I know you got to be gone soon. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I mean,
um,
if you gotta jump to the top 10, that's fine too. Um,
Monster
yeah.
Hunter World just talked about that. Kind
Yeah.
of, it's cool. It's more anime-ish, but I mean, you have giant weapons and
Hey,
just
goofy
the
and
style
fun.
of people. It does have a really cool customization though. Like when you first start the game out, you can pick male or female, and then
Mm,
it's kind of like Skyrim. You go really in detail in your customization. So that's pretty cool.
that is cool.
And
Yeah, Sal's over here catching my lack of knowledge. Thank you. Yeah,
Salvador's
Titanfall
awesome,
2.
man.
I heard the
Um,
same thing. Titanfall 2 beat the crap out of Titanfall 1, but because nobody liked Titanfall 1, nobody bought Titanfall 2. So it just kind of wound up being like, hey, this is a really good game. And everyone was like, yeah, right. And it just never caught on.
that's
Which,
unfortunate though, because a lot of these people put so much time into making these games, and then they just get such a bad like feedback from people. It's like, oh well, that was a waste of my fucking time.
well, I mean, think about it. It's kind of like if, they made a Battlefront 3 in the midst of all that crap that was happening with the new Battlefront 2. Like
Oh
people
God,
would boycott the game. They wouldn't buy
they
it.
might as well have. I mean, the game's been out for probably over what 2 years now, and they're still adding more DLC. And like, hey, like us still. It's like, no.
Right, because they know if they release another game, no one's gonna get it. What you gotta do is you kind of have to win everybody back. And I think Titanfall here is a great example of like a game that came out and people felt like they were cheated out of it. They felt like it wasn't a full game. I think it's one of the few games that when it came out, or one of the first games that when it came out, it wasn't a full game, and people were really pissed off about that because it was multiplayer only. And everyone was like, what the hell? It came out and people were kind of upset. And so, when you go to try to make it up to them with your second game that has this stuff the first one was missing, well, yeah, no one's going to buy it because they don't trust you. So there you go. But yeah,
Hmm.
Monster Hunter World looks cool. I'd play it.
You played it?
No, no, my wife played a demo of it. I never got a chance to, but it looked pretty like neat,
It's
interesting.
I've been watching my girlfriend play it the past couple days, and it's pretty cool. I mean, not gonna lie, I didn't expect it to be that fun looking, but
Yeah.
yeah, I gotta get into it. It's on my PlayStation. I downloaded it, but and
Yeah.
also real quick, you can like your companion on Fallout. You got a dog.
Mm-hmm.
This game, you get like a
Like
cat,
a cat, right? You get like a little customizable
walking
cat.
cat. He just like does shit for you. It's really weird, but you can customize his color and everything and his outfit. Like it's definitely anime-ish.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
We got Battlefield 1. Yeah, we all know about Battlefield 1. That was just what the fuck?
Yeah, you gotta scroll through some ads.
Detroit Become Human.
I've heard this game was crazy. It was such like a flash in the pan though. Like it was really good, really crazy, and then it just kind of faded away, as
Hmm.
far as I could tell. But I didn't hear anything bad about it. Like I just heard it was like awesome. Like it was such a cool plot, and then it was gone.
like a Blade Runner feel to it.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, that's kind of the plot of it. I think is you're an android that is becoming human. Like you're self conscious. You're becoming more and more human. But I
Huh.
but I think there's people that don't want you to do that. If
It's
I
very
recall.
interesting.
Yeah.
I'll
Oh,
check
so yes, Sal. That's right. That's why I kept the dog. Dog meat is his name. He finds stuff for you too, which is really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice.
I heard this game was nuts.
It
At least
looks like a
visually, yeah.
pagan looking thing.
Look like a what?
Looks like like an ancient, like pagan looking
Yeah, it's
Vikings.
something crazy. Yeah, you hear you it's I think the game is based in like schizophrenia or something like that. Like there's all kinds of stuff going around with that game, but I heard it's a very good game and I heard it's really crazy to play.
I gotta try that out.
Like I
It,
heard it's a weirdly accurate version of like if you have schizophrenia, it's kind of like this, like where you just sort of hearing things randomly, like you're playing the game and just like people are talking.
huh?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I've been wanting to play it now that I have the time. I just might.
Maybe that's not a good game to play during this quarantine time, but maybe
Yeah,
it'll be cool. Maybe it'll make it more interesting.
yeah, really.
You start hearing gameplay at night.
Yeah, that'd be scary.
16 Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
I haven't played it.
I've played it. It's every other Assassin's Creed game, but you're in Greece.
Okay. I stopped at the Egypt one because I got level locked on it. Like it's like you need to be level 30 something to do this mission, and I'm like, but I'm not there yet, and I have to grind, and I don't feel like doing that. So I just haven't. I wanted to beat it before I played Odyssey, and I just haven't beat it. So I just haven't played Odyssey.
Hmm. We got Division 2. It,
Yeah, no idea on that one.
it looks like a shoot 'em up game that if I'm correct, it's like a team playing type game. Like you have a little squad of people, and you have
No, okay.
it sounds kind of like Army of Two, but
Oh wow, that's a throwback game. I remember that one.
that those games fucking kicked ass.
Yeah, I remember Army of Two was fun.
Bloodborne. This one looks pretty cool.
This game that I like forget exists, and then I see it, and I'm like, "Ooh, that looks cool," and then I forget it exists again until it comes up.
It looks like a grittier like Van Helsing looking. Just
Yeah, I think that's its deal, right? Like you hunt monsters, like
um,
vampires and shit.
I gotta try this out. I keep seeing it, and then my girlfriend's like, "I want to play this." I'm like, okay, I'm down to try that.
Yeah.
Persona 5, whatever the fuck that is.
I'm not familiar with the Persona series. I've never played it. It has suddenly been popping up. Okay, HP Lovecraft. That's the other shot in the dark one. Okay.
Actually, really cool.
No, it sounds pretty neat. Yeah, as far as Persona goes, I don't know. I mean, it's I know it's in like an anime-esque game that takes place in Japan. I don't really know what is it. You fight demons. Okay. One part Pokemon, one part high school. Okay, whatever. I'm like, cool.
7 Biohazard. That
I've seen some Resident Evil gameplay, but I haven't played it myself.
dude, that looks wicked. Holy shit.
No, it definitely looks nuts.
Huh.
I'd give it a shot.
They just came out with one recently, right?
Yeah, they're remaking the old ones, I think. So I think 2 and 3 just came out, or at least 3 just came out. A remake of 3, sorry.
I'm down for that, dude. Those I love those games. Near, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think it's Near Automata. I
Uh,
mean, I've heard it's actually really good. I think my wife played it, said it was really cool, and it's on her PS4, but it was like her dad's game, so I never got to play it. Um, but I heard it's definitely like a good game. It's another one of those like anime games, but I think you play as like an android or something. I don't know.
that looks interesting. I'm down a lot. I'm really surprised because I looked a little bit at the list, but I didn't get all the way down to one. So some of these games I'm seeing for the first time, and I'm like, these actually look really cool.
Yeah, no, some of them are really like this one I heard is very good. Some of the other ones I've heard are good. Some of them I have. I've just never gotten around to playing them. Like I have a backlog of PS4 games just because of the PS Plus thing. Like every now and then there are like some real gems in that free game of the month thing, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I'll download it." And then I just kind of haven't played it.
Let's see. Let's go on to page 3.
Yeah,
So we're gonna
so
get
that's a
down to the
top
top
10.
10. So Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. I've heard nothing but good things about all of them.
Yeah,
So,
I've never heard a bad thing about Uncharted. I think.
all right, I don't want to play this. No.
Yeah.
All right. Uncharted's always been consistent. What remains of Edith Finch?
I've never heard of this. What is this?
Sure, by now you've probably heard all the hype, and it might have even put you off slightly in that weird hipster way that hype always manages. But
I
what
have not heard all the
Edith
hype,
Finch
so you're
is
wrong
one of
there.
those beautiful reminders that games can make you feel everything. Exploring her family home, the titular Edith Finch gradually uncovers the stories of the Finches through the ages, each one opening up a new experience and story, from exploring a Halloween horror adventure in a graphic novel to simply flying a kite. Every chapter is a new surprise. To give away any more is to spoil the magic of this walking sim, but yes, it will break your heart and make you cry, but only in the best way possible. What Remains of Edith Finch is a beautiful experience that never feels emotionally manipulative, only ever incredibly human and a poignant reflection on the stories that make us who we are, even if we didn't always know it. So I guess it's just an RPG game. You go through your house, I guess.
I guess so.
I,
Um,
it's
I
weird.
think I might have actually seen game. Oh man, I don't know if it's the same game. I saw gameplay of it, something where it was like you play as somebody who has Alzheimer's.
What?
It was just like a little what's it called? Indie game I thought, and it was just you are in like a clearly in like a nursing home, and like you play, and there's just another one of those like this is an accurate representation, I guess, of what it feels like to have Alzheimer's,
That's
because you'll be like
the fuck?
reading a book and then like the game just hard cuts and you're like waking up or you're like in the bathroom and it's like 2 days later, and
Dude,
it's just like it's kind of creepy and like it's unsettling, but I guess like that was the point of the game, was to be like this is what people who have Alzheimer's or dementia or something, like this is what they deal with all the time. And so you'll have like little notes that are like, did you take your pills today, or your son is coming over to you know play checkers with you or have dinner with you or something, and then it's just like the next minute it's 2 days later and you're just kind of like, what the hell is going on? It was pretty crazy watching that. Like,
dang, dude. Okay, that's depressing. Damn.
yeah, I'm definitely not sure if it was this game, but I could see it having some of these effects.
If any
This is probably a different game because it looks different, but yeah.
if any of these are going to be made into a movie, I feel like this would be a really good Halloween horror slash like suspense movie.
hmm I mean, I think it'd be like, yeah. I mean, I think it'd just be a good movie in general.
Grand
Grand
Theft
Theft
Auto
Auto 5.
5. I mean, I know a lot of people
Yeah.
love GTA. I've played it before, but I've never been like a huge Grand Theft Auto fan.
Yeah,
I think
same.
I think it's
There's
cool.
nothing wrong with it, but whatever.
You guys used to play like GTA on the PSP. Like I know you and Mark.
Oh, I remember I never had a PSP. I remember playing like San Andreas maybe way back in the day, but I never like really got into any of the later ones.
Huh. I mean, it looks cool. I mean, everyone and their mom that likes it. I mean, shit. Fortnite, number 7. Dude, I play Fortnite.
I'm not into it.
They just added Deadpool.
Well, that's cool.
So,
I'm just like I don't get it. It's another one. I'm not really into like the online shooter games that much. Fortnite just kind of being one of those ones where it sounds like there's such a skill gap there anyway that what little interest I ever had in the game was kind of killed, because it's like, well, why do I want to play with these kids who are going to kick my ass? And I'm just like, nah, this is like to the point where it's like you're not even having fun. It's like, yeah, this is boring. Like,
there's
I don't want to play.
ways you can kill people in the game, and there's different skills that you can have. Like, I personally am not good at building the ramps and platforms and stuff very fast, but I'm better at shooting. So a lot of people will build this huge fort in front of me, and then I
Mhm.
wait for them to show themselves, and then I'll just kill them. So they just like wasted all that time. I'm just like, yeah, fuck you. Like, it's a very nonsensical, mindless, just goofy, silly game.
No, that's
Like
cool.
it's just
I
very.
mean, yeah, I mean, people seem to like it. It's not necessarily my cup of tea, but that's fine.
I think my biggest gripe with it is that there's a lot of kids that play that game. So
Yeah.
and they always have microphones. So I'm always trying to like mute their mics because there's all a bunch of like 12-year-olds and they're just like, "Meow, meow, 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 meow."
Yeah, I think at that point you're better off just listening to music while you play and mute your TV.
It's very annoying, but it's not a bad game. Um, I love it. I mean, I still play it. I've been playing it for like 2 years now. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Fucking love this game. I got it when I was stuck at home for a period of time before all this happened, and I've play it every now and then still. It's just I never beat it. Like it's just such a cool game. Like if you like Skyrim, you'll probably like this game. It's a little bit more there's a little bit more to it. And there's definitely like a more rigorous plot, but like it definitely like you play that, you watch the TV show or whatever, like it's a really cool world that I kind of regret not getting into earlier. But this game is great. Like I really like
Sal in the chat, he said he played GTA 2 on a PS1.
it. Yeah, I remember that way back. Yeah, I remember playing at friends' houses, I think.
He said his old Sal figure used with Fortnite figure for the body. Okay, so this I didn't tell you. So I told you about our boardroom shows every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Did I? Okay. So for our thumbnails, Sal, like I showed you his channel, he does toy and action figure and collectible reviews.
Mhm.
He also does customizations. So um he customized figures of all of us for our thumbnails. So kind of
That's
like
cool.
Robot Chicken. So he basically made an action figure of me, one of him, one of Pete, and we use those. And he sets them up in his little studio and you know poses them and shit. So those are our thumbnails for the boardroom shows. So if you see those, it'll be like me drinking a beer and holding a gun or something, and then it'll be Pete trying to like tell me to calm down, and then it's usually Sal being like, "Oh, what the fuck."
Yeah, no, it's cool.
No, that's awesome. But he does really good work on there. So, guys, go check out 2 Cents Toys. He does a really good job on there. He just released a video review for a Killer Croc figure for Batman. So, go check that out.
Oh damn.
And let me see. He said never finished that one. I guess that's to Witcher. I don't know what that was to. And then I played for like 6 hours. I lost interest. I get tired of grinding in all honesty.
Yeah, I mean there's a bit of I guess The Witcher's it's like to me it plays like Skyrim with like a lot more detail, I guess is the way I'll say it. There is like random fetch quests and stuff. Like it's kind of like playing an actual story if you played every bit of it. Like I think in Skyrim there were some quests where it's like, okay, go get me this thing, and the rest of everything else has sort of happened already or happening behind the scenes. Whereas you're sort of instigating the whole deal, and it's like, okay, I need this thing to do this. Oh shit, now you got that. This happened, and it definitely takes its time. But I mean, like if you have the time to kill and you feel like kind of just immersing yourself in like a fantasy world, this is a fine game to do it. But it definitely wouldn't be for everybody if that's something you're not into.
Hmm. Well, let me see real quick. Amazon, 1983. Not bad. I mean, that's the one of the only benefits of this whole like quarantine thing is a lot of these games are on sale now.
Mm-hmm.
These companies are so smart for doing that. Metal Gear Solid 5 for number 5, the Phantom Pain. Never once played a Metal Gear Solid game. Never seen gameplay of one.
Yeah.
Never seemed too interested in it, honestly.
I mean, it's one of those ones where it's just like I'm not against it. I've never picked one up. Seems fine enough. Like if you like it, cool. I'm not against it. I've just never really gotten around to playing it. And it's kind of one of those things where like once they keep making more of them, I'm just like, oh, that's cool. Like I'll maybe play that one day. I don't know. but like I can't play it from 1 because I gotta go back to like
PlayStation 1.
PS1, PS2 or whatever, and that might not, there's I don't have a problem playing like retro systems. It's just like, oh man, I gotta find a way to play that, which either involves a lot of work in emulation or I have to figure out if it's on the PS4
Oh yeah.
somewhere digital. And it's like by the time I do that, I'm like, am I really that interested in playing this? I don't know.
I feel like at this point it would just be a matter of trying to find the cutscene compilation video on YouTube and then watching that prior to playing this one. So
Yeah.
at least that's what I would do, unless number four is on the PS4 as well, and then you can play that. But I don't feel like going back to PS3, 2, 1, whatever. So
Yeah.
Marvel Spider-Man number four. So personally, I think
Wow. Okay.
this should be one.
I think it definitely needs to be like into the top 3, like it says. I'm kind of surprised it's not. Um, but yeah, I mean, I would put it personally at number 1, definitely.
I
Or at
mean,
least number 1 or 2, but I'm kind of shocked it's at 4.
for me to buy the special edition and get the statue for this game and everything,
Oh yeah.
that's saying something because I fucking love this game.
I just got the regular game, but I mean, like, it's good. Like, it's a great game. I think I genuinely think it should be in the top 3, no matter what.
Oh yeah,
Um,
at least three.
yeah. I mean, we talked the crap out of this game, but like, what's number 3? What's number 2? What's number,
Red Dead.
Red Dead Redemption. Okay.
So I have this game, and I mentioned earlier I had to delete it off my PlayStation because it just took up way too much space, and I didn't play it as much. Now
Hmm.
my buddy Aaron over in Orlando, he loves this game, and he plays it all the time. But he always asks me to like, hey, do you want to play? Like, I'll send you a party invite, and I'm like, "Ugh, I don't really care.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. This game is so tedious. Like, you have a horse, and you have to feed
Hmm.
the horse, gotta take care of it, and you gotta do all this other small shit.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just it's too realistic for me to really truly enjoy it. I don't know. It's like I have to take care of this thing instead of just playing it and beating it up and then having fun. You know what?
Yeah, I mean, I heard it was great. I never really got around to playing it. I mean, I guess it's like, Grand Theft Auto, like it's a fine game in small doses for me, but I'm not really like super advertised as like cowboy Grand Theft Auto, which is cool, but it wasn't enough for me to be like, yeah, I want to spend money to get Red Dead Redemption. Like I looked at it, I'm like, I'm not going to play this that much. Everyone says they play it a ton. I almost got it when it came out, and then it just kind of like faded into the background of everything else. So yeah, I don't know. That being said, I think Spider-Man should be above it, but then again, I've never played it, so who am I to really judge that one?
I
And then it
personally
depends on what.
love it, but
Yeah. Well, if you played them both, like, I'll defer to you on that one. For me, I never played it. It looked cool. Not too many like good, solid cowboy games out there, I guess. So that's something different. But
you have this game. But the first game that I played of the series was Red Dead Revolver, and that came out on PlayStation 2, which you can also buy on the PlayStation Store for like $10 or something. And that game was very simple. It was very fun. It had a good story and it had a good character. Similar to this, but not as crazy in detail because it was, of course, PS2. But this game is like they amped up everything. They amped up the gunfighting, the types of equipment you have to get. I mean, you got to eat, you got to do all this crazy shit.
yeah.
Now, you can't customize your guy, which is pretty cool, but it's just, I don't know. It's such a slow game, so boring, in my opinion. I don't know. And I'm not usually one to rag on games for being boring, but except for No Man's Sky, that game was. That game
No
was
Man's Sky is one of those games where it's another one I like lose a ton of time to now. It's getting harder to play just because they've updated it so much, which is great because when that game first came out, that was like one of the biggest disappointments of the year. Um, but it's really cool looking game. And I mean, like as far as just if you're into like building that stuff or like exploring and flying around a spaceship, like it's fine enough. I mean, I've dumped hours and hours and hours into it just kind of because it's such a slow, almost real time game, and that kind of that has its positives and negatives. Like I think it's just a nice game to kind of relax to. If you want to like a plot or you're trying to like play something a little faster paced, yeah, definitely wouldn't touch No Man's Sky.
Yeah, I couldn't get into it. I think I threw it away, honestly. I got so mad at it. I was like, "This is fucking stupid." Like, I
I'm
thought he
pretty sure you're not alone on that one.
Number 2, we got Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
So, I've been wanting to get this for a while now. I've been contemplating. I'm like, "Should I get it?" I'm
No,
like,
take the plunge, do it. I mean, we talked about it before, but it's a good game. Like it's fun. The DLC is pretty neat and it's a really cool concept that gets kind of crazy with your head when you start thinking about it, but it's a pretty cool game.
I want to try this out. There's another one. I don't think it's going to be number 1, but it was like a dinosaur game. It's like
Oh,
some
like Ark or something like
Yeah,
that.
that one.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to try that.
I'm always curious about it every now and then.
I mean, you
Um,
give me weapons and dinosaurs, and that I'm my number
yeah,
1.
you were, yeah.
God of
Yeah, I could arguably see this game sitting up here. Like that's fine.
War.
Um
Yeah.
this game when it came out, I remember playing it and just going, this game is just straight up amazing. I mean, the gameplay is just, you know, you're crazy beating them up, slashing stuff. You have like some fun puzzle gameplay stuff in it, but then at the same time, you have like a great plot. I mean, the way this game ends is so ominous and like just so much development for the characters. I mean, it's kind of like Spider-Man in that you're watching a movie. Like, yeah, I totally agree with Sal over here. Like, incredible is the word I would apply to this game. It was arguably perfect in pretty much every way. Um, I can't think of really any flaw except that there wasn't more to play. But even then, it was paced so well that it's just like come out with God of War 2, but not God of War 2. I don't know, whatever the sequel to this game would be called. And, you know, you can bet that'll be a game I would pre order. I'm like not big on pre ordering anymore, but, you know, that would be a game I'd totally pre order in a heartbeat.
Yeah, my buddy Jeff played this game, and I came over to his house one day, and he was playing it, and it's like a more down to earth version of Kratos. Like you're not up in, I guess, heaven or whatever.
Yeah, you're not dealing with any of that. It's, I guess, to like the basic bit of the game would be, you know, Kratos. I've done all this crazy shit, killing gods and stuff in Greece and whatever. Like, I am just going to be secluded in the middle of nowhere, somewhere in Scandinavia, probably. Um, and it takes place so like in sort of a Viking lore, I guess, or not lore, but like mythology,
Yeah,
Norse mythology, I should say. Like you have kind of there's a point in time where like gods walked on the earth, and that's like for the mythology that's like a historical point, and then
yeah,
eventually the gods leave Earth and they're not there anymore. They're whatever other place they are. This game takes place in that time where gods are still on Earth and just kind of hanging out. Um, so you interact with them, and of course you're doing like the god killing and stuff. But the game just straight opens where it's like you and your son are cremating your dead wife, and it's like that's how the game just kind of hits you, is this really solemn, like, all right, we got to have like a funeral pyre, and the whole point of the game in the beginning is to get her ashes. She wants to be her ashes scattered on the tallest mountain there is, and the game just kind of is that going forward.
now,
Uh,
is
yeah,
does this take place before the PS3
no,
version?
this is after all of them. I think this is after all because you deal with that. You
So
deal with the
killed all of
him
them.
trying to kind of hide that from his son at a later throughout the game. It's just like, you know, where are you from or whatever, blah blah blah. It's just like we're not going to talk about that. You also have some like great voice actor work by Christopher Judge, Teal'c from the Stargate series. If anybody's ever watched those, but he plays the voice of Kratos, and like he does just a fantastic job. Like when you just hear him talking, it's like you're like, yeah, that you're into it. You know, it's not out of place. It's not weird to have someone different from the other games do it. But yeah, no, I would highly suggest playing this game. Like if you haven't yet, just play it. I envy you for being able to play it for the first time. Like it's just such an epic game.
I'm gonna have to try this out because I keep hearing nothing but good things about it. Like I've not heard one like at all, not one bad thing about this game.
I don't think I would have a bad. I mean, there are parts of it that are wicked hard, but they're not necessarily pertinent to the plot. And it's kind of like you don't have to do them. Like the harpy thing is really it's like it'll kick your ass, but
Yeah,
like
I saw. I actually when I was over at Jeff's house, that was the part he was on.
yeah.
I was like, holy shit! Like you got to beat this thing, and it was, and he's really good at video games. But I was like, okay, this is a little much.
No, it's tough. But it's one of those games where you feel pretty like rewarded when you beat stuff or earn things, and just like it's a great game. I would highly suggest picking it up. It totally earns this number one spot without a doubt.
Dang. Well, I can't wait to try it out. I gotta beat. I'm playing right now. Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast.
Oh yeah, they re-released that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been playing that, and then switching back and forth from that to um, Fortnite, and then. Do you remember War of the Monsters?
No, I don't know what that is.
That was a PS2 game from back in the day, and it was basically it's something that you would have liked. You and your brother would have liked a lot. It's takes place in like the 50s, 60s, and it's kind of like King Kong. Like aliens invaded Earth, then they shot down the aliens, but all the alien like I guess fuel or goo came from the UFOs
Mm,
and it crashed on the Earth, so it leaked out. So certain monsters got, the alien fuel or whatever, so they mutated and grew huge. So like you got a giant praying mantis, then you got like a King Kong ape,
yeah.
then you got a giant robot from like Japan or something, and
Oh,
um,
okay.
a bunch of
No,
other
that sounds
crazy shit.
sounds just like goofy fun, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like Rampage and King Kong mixed. Like it's just
Oh,
weird.
okay.
But yeah, so I think we're leaning towards the end of this episode. We're going on 2.5 hours almost.
It's like an hour and a half longer than we thought we were going to be
It
doing.
flies by quick though, man. I'm telling
Oh,
you.
tell me about it.
Um, Sal's talking about God of War. God of War, Age of Frost.
Yeah, I think with based on the end of that game, I could see some of those being names that would totally fit.
Yeah,
It's some pretty cool. The end of the game is pretty. The end post credits kind of tease, and it's kind of one of these things that's like teased throughout the game. Is you're just sort of sitting there like, okay, when is this going to happen? And then it sort of does, and I don't know. It's just curious. I'm curious how it's going to boil down into a second game, and I'm totally more than fine if we got to wait for it, because if some of these games that are coming out prove anything, like it's fine to wait. I'm okay waiting. Like let to make this game take forever and a day to come out. That's fine. I don't need it right now. I can wait as long as it's just worth the wait. I'm good.
I mean, yeah, I'm totally down for quality over quantity. I mean, you see a lot of these games that come out, and there's just like always one after the other. Same with movies.
Oh
But if
yeah.
you wait enough time to put out the best material you can, I'm buying it.
Well, that's then on our podcast, you'll hear us if you decide to listen to it. You kind of hear us maybe like rag on Marvel movies every now and then. Just again, there's so many of them. It's just so easy, but at the same time, like it's that they pump these things out 3 or 4 a year, and this isn't just them. There's plenty of other things that are doing this, and it's like take your time, make your movie, make it good, or your game or whatever, and it'll go better in the long run. I mean, I think again, not to get too deep into it, but like Star Wars is a great example of that. Is you have like these one-off movies that are just kind of like self-contained, who cares? And then you have your grander series movies where it's like, no, we have a timeline, we are releasing them on schedule. And it's like, well, maybe if you just stopped for a minute, wrote out your movie, got it figured out, then made it, then released it, it'd be a better movie, you know?
Yeah, or you could have like not give George Lucas the middle finger, but whatever. Like,
Well, I mean, it just kind of stinks. That's like, he hands you, hey, this is like my idea for another trilogy, and you're like, that looks pretty nice. We're gonna put that right here on the fridge, and then like, that's it. I think as far as those movies go, the biggest issue was they thought it was clever to have three different directors write three different movies that were sequels to each other.
It's
And
not
it backfired horrendously.
like back when they were doing the OT, you see how everything unfolded as far as production goes, and it's
Mhm.
kind of organic. And he's like, "All right, I'll write all these movies, but you guys direct them." It's like, sounds like a plan. Like, great.
Right, and I think the big thing as far as these ones went is, Lucas is a great, like, storyteller, he's a great visionary, like, when it comes to making a plot, but, I mean, the prequel movies are a good example of, like, how it's just like, yeah, you give him the entire reins to a movie, it's not the best, like, you could have made a better movie with the prequels. With the sequel trilogy, you go in the opposite way. You're saying, well, George has good ideas, but like we want to make our own thing. We don't want to be reliant on him. We took this away from him. We don't want to have to constantly refer back to him. Because how long until he's going to want credit or some shit?
But
But
it's also, yeah, it's also the material that he didn't necessarily make himself, but he approved of it, like the EU.
yeah, and I think the
Like,
problem is that it's not you're trying to like start from scratch, but at the same time make something that is a sequel to something already established. And
yeah,
like, yeah, it sucks that they threw out all the EU stuff, but at the same time, I can understand why because you don't want to restrict yourself. I think if you look at like the television show Star Trek Discovery, like the first half of that first season was just riddled with like, how are you explaining away this? Because you're taking place in the middle of everything. So it's like, what? You're
yeah.
now introducing new stuff, and, like, it's not a I personally like, the show's okay. It's not, like, my favorite Star Trek show of all time, but it's not bad, but it got a lot better when they worked a way for these characters to not be present in, like, what would be major historical events of that series. So it's like, "Okay, let's put them somewhere else or on the other side of the galaxy or whatever while this other shit's going on." That's fine. Like, you can do that. And I understand why you don't wanna make your mainstream movies have to work around, your EU stuff that's been around forever because now you're just basically making a book a movie and, well, what if everyone didn't like that book? Or what if someone you run into the same problems. I think the biggest issue is you walked into it and going, "I'm gonna make 3 movies." And it's like, "Okay, cool. What's the arc? Like, what are those 3 movies going to lead to?" And you just said, "Who cares? It's Star Wars." And, like, make them.
Yeah,
And it's like, well, shit. Now you have like, 7 that's just a rehash of 4, 8 that just shat all over 7, and 9 that's like a weird sequel to 7 and just skips over 8 and doesn't make any sense.
yeah. It
Train wreck.
basically it was a rehash of 4 for number 7,
Yeah.
and still managed to ruin a lot of rules and lore of Star Wars. And then number 8 just shat on everything Star Wars,
Yeah.
including and everything else. Like, it makes Anakin's whole 6 movie saga seem useless. Like, every character before the sequel trilogy, they made them all useless. Like, who gives a shit?
Right.
Like,
But
oh,
then 9 basically does that backwards. Like, or does that in the opposite way. Is it's just like none of that mattered because it didn't actually happen or it didn't actually work.
yeah,
Like, I don't know. My issue with 9 is just the whole it just didn't arguably, I think it's the worst one. I might have reservations against 8 for what it did plot-wise, but 9 just as a movie didn't make any damn sense. Like, it's like, "Wait a minute, what the hell's going on? Like, why is he back? What? What is this shit? Like, what are we doing?" And it comes from it genuinely felt like, "Oh, man, so many people were so upset with 8 that we gotta fix it in 9." And then you end up making a sequel to a movie that didn't happen that leans a lot more on the first movie that wasn't really prepared for a lacking middle movie. I personally think you should have just doubled down on 8 and just make a movie following that. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, okay, I didn't like what 8 did, but at least it would have been coherent, you know?
they had these plans outside of Star Wars before they made plans for Star Wars itself.
Right.
Like, hey, let's get these directors, like you said. Let's do all this. Let's incorporate this weird, like, un I mean, really uncalled for like diversity thing, but at the same time, you're going to try to be diverse and everything with the characters, but you're actually not because everyone's a human.
Well, I
Like
mean, I don't know. As far as the diversity goes, I think
it's just small.
I don't really care about the diversity so much as I care about like you have too many characters. This is what we were talking about with Stranger Things. Is you have all these characters, and you know whatever angle you want to play their presence for diversity or whatever, it's irrelevant because sure you can have a diverse cast, you can have 100 different characters from 100 different places around the galaxy, around the planet, or whatever. But if those characters aren't doing anything and they're just present, then what's the point? I
That's
mean,
what Nine did. Like you have all these, like you have Mary from Lord of the Rings, and you got fucking
oh, that in 9 it really made me upset because I'm like, okay, we
Ego, and they just stand around, and
well,
that's
did you hear why?
why. What?
There was like entire subplots of that movie that were cut for like
Oh, well,
one
yeah,
reason or another. They were basically that movie, and this is where I say, like, take your time, stop your movie, and reassess. That movie, for some reason, hinged on Carrie Fisher. Like that whole movie was like centered around her, and then she died. And instead of going, we need to rewrite this movie, she died before production started. So it's like, we need to rewrite this movie would have been the knee jerk approach. They said, fuck it, we'll work around it. We can already like Tarkanize people and make them come back and look like fucking weird CGI people. Like, fine, we made it work. Let's just do that. And it's like you had entire so like him and Rose actually had like a point to them being in the movie. All of it was cut because Carrie Fisher wasn't there to do it. And
yeah.
it's just like, so why are we like, why not rewrite your movie? Like, it really irritated me. Like, well, one, in 8, personally, I was kind of irritated that like the direction that Rose's character took because I thought it would be kind of cool to have like a person, like a human engineer, as opposed to just R2 fixing it all the time. Like I thought that would be kind of a neat take. Like let's have her be this like character who can fix anything or whatever, and it just be like you could have some neat dynamics there. And her character like is doing something as far as the plot goes. Instead, like I don't know, it just she kind of was there to make a political statement and it kind of falls by that. And I'm like, you're kind of wasting this character. 9 rolls around and they're just like, yeah, Rose is here, but for some reason she's just not going to come on your adventure, even though we spent an entire movie developing this character. And I'm
Trying to.
yeah, like no matter whether you like it or not, like we spent all this time developing this character, and now we're just gonna be like, okay, she's gonna stay here while you guys go have fun. And I'm like, what the hell did we waste that entire chunk of a movie for?
They could
Like,
have tried to make her cooler, but instead they were just like, "All right, you hang back at the base." It's like, okay,
yeah, I mean, like you could have done so many things. I mean, really, you could have done at least if you already set it up, you could have done something with this weird love triangle thing they were setting up. Um, as far as that goes, I don't know. It was just kind of like wait, where did I mean, I don't know. There's so many threads from 8 that just get thrown away, and it was one thing to throw them away in 8 by telling you, the viewer, it doesn't matter, and then in 9 to go, "Okay, here's the things that they presented in 8. We're not gonna tell you they don't matter. We're just gonna act like they didn't happen." And that, to me, as like a moviegoer, is more insulting than just saying, "Screw these things," because at least you're telling me I don't have to care about them.
it that whole movie was basically the 6 movie saga didn't matter.
Uh,
Ray is space Jesus. These characters that we try to set up in 7 don't matter.
Well, arguably, Anakin and Luke are space Jesus too. So I mean, they're all space Jesus when it comes down to it. But you're right. The sixth
Well, I
movie
mean,
saga didn't make a difference.
as far as the whole virgin birth thing and the whole he's the chosen one, he's going to bring balance. Okay. He's going to bring balance. What did he do? Well, he killed the emperor. After all the shit that Anakin went through as a Jedi and as a Sith Lord, at the end he finally came through and helped his son, and his son helped him. So
Right. Like Anakin's
essentially,
sacrifice means nothing.
yeah, Luke throwing away the lightsaber, going, "I'm not going to kill my father."
Mm-hmm.
even though he's murdered millions of people. He's still my father. I'm going to turn him back to the light side, or I'm going to die trying.
Which
And that's
was, if you look it up, and this is a lot of this I think was leaked a long time ago, but if you look up Colin Trevorrow's like original treatment of the final movie, this movie is nothing like that. Like this
oh
movie
yeah,
was supposed to be about like them trying to redeem Kylo Ren and then not being able to do that and having to deal with we have to kill him.
yeah.
And it's like that's kind of cool because that's how I felt at the end of 8 was like Kylo's dunzo. Like we've lost him. He has gone full on crazy dark side. The characters still have to learn that, but you know, I want to
But what
watch
also
them learn that and deal with it.
But also, it's like, okay, you have Ray trying to turn him. But what fucking like, what connection do you have to Kylo? You have no connection. You literally have watched him murder Han Solo, who you also barely knew. So I don't know why you're taking it so hard. You tried to you try to kill him
Mhm.
first battle, and you beat him. You fight him again, beat him. You fight him 3 more times in that movie, and you beat him.
I was
So
excited
what's the
because I thought
point? Like it does not nothing matters and there's no point to any of it. So therefore, if you had that Colin Trevorrow thing, it might have been more interesting. Yeah, you've lost him completely. There is no turning back. So Ray,
right.
you gotta fucking kill him. But
Well, then you
it's
get Avatar: The Last Airbender. Is just you have to kill him, and it's like I don't want to kill him. It's like, well, you have to. Like you don't get a choice.
yeah,
Unlike Avatar: The Last Airbender, I think it would end with like you do have to kill him, and it is over that way. I think
yeah,
if
you can't just
9,
drain his powers away.
right, and I think if 9 had, frankly, if it had the cojones to do it, I think they should have just. I mean, it would have been you'd have had to really pull it off well, and I for a minute thought it was going this direction with the Palpatine shit. Make Ray go dark. Like make Ray fall and then reverse it. So like Kylo comes back. He has that little bit with Harrison Ford and whatever after he gets his ass handed to him. Ray just kind of falls to the dark side. And it becomes we need to stop Ray. And the whole movie, you watch her be evil, you watch her with the lightning and kind of falling towards the dark side and all that other crap. She goes bad. We have to stop her. And then at the end, she realizes everything. You redo the shit from 6. You make her into Vader, Ben into sort of Luke, and then honestly, maybe just have them both die, or at least Ray. Like when Ray died, I was like, okay, the line Rise of Skywalker makes so much sense. Like I felt really satisfied when Ben Solo was the one to survive because I'm like, Ray's dead. The only Skywalker lineage still alive is Ben. And not only is his character somewhat more, have more depth because he just had to deal with the death of this person who saved him and all the terrible things he did, but he has to acknowledge like she sacrificed himself so that he can live, and that would have made him standing on, for some reason being on Tatooine at the Skywalker house, like that would have given it, I think, a little bit more depth. Whereas like with Ray, it was just kind of like, okay, the hero lived and like kind of lived in a bullshit way and arguably should have died and like took up this Skywalker name, which I think would have played better if we maybe dealt with um I don't know, like I don't know how to phrase it. Like if we maybe dealt with like her really not having a family more, I think we get one-off line where they ask what her last name is, and then she's just like, I don't know, and then they just go on with the movie. It's like
Yeah,
play
it's
that
like
up.
yeah, it's the whole time. It's basically you have Mary Sue Ray running around, and she's having like Wolverine moments, like where did I come from? It's like I don't know. Okay, moving on. It's like what?
Oh, and that's the problem. It's like those moments are fine, whatever. You can have them, but you have to stick to it.
Yeah,
Pick
but
what
there's
you want
like
your movie to be, you know?
yeah, but it's like these random ass moments, and it's like who's your family? What's your name? I don't know. All right, cool. And then they just keep going. Like
Yeah,
what?
exactly.
They
That's what
don't.
I'm
They
talking
don't.
about. Yeah.
They don't try to linger on a little bit and try to figure anything out. It's
It's
who's
because
your dad?
there's no through line through these movies. The through line is the characters, but the characters don't do anything or develop. And so it's just I mean, the one that I don't know. I don't know if any of these characters really develop. I feel like in 8 you get kind of some development. Finn arguably is the only character that really develops in the course of these movies, and by
But
the
then
ninth movie he's
and then
so
Rose fucks it up and like saves him.
well, it's not even that. I don't even mean that. I mean, like, sure, like that's fine. You know, arguably Finn develops a little bit more in 9 where it's like, "Oh shit, look at all these other stormtroopers who bailed because of what I did." And
Yeah.
that gets thrown away, which it shouldn't, but whatever. Um, but it's kind of like you give Finn nothing to do, especially after a scene where you save his life in the penultimate movie. You're like, okay, he's saved, hooray! And then it's like, okay, but he's not gonna do like anything really big in 9.
They literally freed
Maybe here.
horses, space horses, sporces, in 8 just for them to get recaptured again, just so they can get to their ship. That's literally it. Like, oh, we did this grandiose gesture. It's like,
Well, I don't even mean in
no,
8. I'm
you
talking
real
9. I'm talking in 9, like he doesn't do anything. In 8, they
he
go on
doesn't.
a trip and they like develop their characters, but in 9, like he's just present to yell and try to help Ray. And like to me, that's worse than 8 because at least in 8 they gave him something to do, regardless of opinions on it. He's doing something.
Yeah,
And then
this one
he's
he
just
just
there.
kind of stands around, just like Poe. Like they just
Right.
stand around.
In which
That
case, like in Poe at least furthers it because it's like, okay, I'm the pilot. I fly us around. Okay, cool. But yeah, it's just like with
Finn brings nothing
Finn,
to the table,
he
and he
doesn't
should.
bring anything, and you should have let him die. If that's how you're going to treat him in the ninth movie, you should have let him die in the eighth movie. Otherwise, give him something to do. You know?
In all honesty, if you're gonna go by off of what you had done in the 7th movie, he should have been paralyzed or had some sort of issue wrong with him. But instead, he
Yeah.
takes a
Well,
lightsaber swipe to the spine, and he's fine.
or like give him robot legs or something. I don't know. Like the whole thing is just
Yeah,
they're not thinking. You got some of the live comments over here. Like, yeah, I think that's a good thing. Star Wars was done by people that give no fuck about anything Star Wars. Like, yeah, that's totally what it came off like.
yeah.
You
What's up,
have an
Flare X?
you have an awesome IP, and instead of doing anything that's the reason why people like it, you're just like, we can sell it because it's Star Wars. Though I will say that I really like. I don't know. Maybe I'm in a minority here. I don't know, but I really like that Mandalorian show. Like that was
Oh,
that
oh,
was
it's cool.
that was a pretty good show in my
I
opinion.
was very skeptical of that show
Yeah, same.
when it was first starting to come out, and I was like, I don't trust this at all, even though Jon Favreau's at the helm of it,
And Filioni or however you
Dave
say his
Filoni.
last name. Yeah, he was on it
But
too.
but I also, when I look back at Rebels, I'm like, God, after towards the end of that show, and I'm just like, I don't fucking care anymore. I was like,
Oh, really?
they introduced a time travel thing of it, and it's
That
like,
got a little. I don't know. That I think was an excuse to like be, hey, let's play around with the Emperor, but keep
well,
him
if anything, you
separate.
could honestly, if you wanted to blame the ruining of Star Wars and making everything seem pointless, it's that arc right there.
Well, I
Because
thought they destroy it.
well, yeah, you could just fucking go back and,
No, but they get rid of it. Like they get rid of that ability by the end of the episode, end of the season. I don't know. I personally liked the end of Rebels
but it's just like
a lot.
they had the ability to go back into any time period and do that, and it's like you could literally chop off Vader's head before
Right.
like he even finishes surgery in episode 3.
But I think that was the point that they
Like that's
made in
just
the episode was like he saves Ahsoka and she's like, I don't think you should have done that kind of type. If I remember, it was sort of like a, you are screwing with time. You can't do this. And the problem was the Emperor was like trying to do that. He was trying to do what you were saying. And so at the
yeah.
end, they destroy the whole time travel space because, it is something they shouldn't have. And I think that as a plot line is like that would be interesting, right? Like give the emperor complete control over time. That's a scary thought. And then yeah, you could use it to save people, but like it does change things, right? Like now Ahsoka's alive and she shouldn't be, but you got to deal with it.
It's the
So
absolute fact that they even incorporated that into Star Wars, and that personally is what made me mad, like
oh, I see.
beyond belief, is the fact that they actually that like time travel should not be a thing at all.
It
If
does feel
anything,
weird, right?
like I'm fine with having Yoda in the Clone Wars talking to the wills of the Force. He had to
Mhm.
basically go into some other dimension,
Right.
and it's not time travel. It's just you're into some other dimension in some otherworldly realm, and he's talking to the Force. It's not like he's time traveling to go fucking stop Anakin from killing younglings. It's like he just talked to them
Yeah.
and he got knowledge from the Force. That's how I see it, at least.
Yeah.
Same with the Mortis arc. They basically got knowledge from the Force.
Yeah, the Mortis arc was interesting in Clone Wars. I mean, you can go on and on about it, but I think at the end of the day, like you take a chance, it works or it doesn't work. But the fact of the matter is, you cleaned it up nicely, and I think whether you like the time travel or not, it's not a thing anymore. You know, like it as far as the timeline goes, it's gone.
But it's like,
And but
what's stopping other people from doing it though? You know what I
well,
mean?
you mean
Like
like
what
other writers putting in time travel or other characters in the universe using time travel?
that any characters in the
Well, they
universe? Because
destroyed the device to travel through time at the end, right? They like got rid of it. It's broken. It's gone. Like,
the
and
thing,
that's how it is cleaned up. And that's my problem with the movies is it doesn't clean itself up. It's just like let's throw some threads out. We'll see what sticks, and then we'll just follow the one that people like the most. And it's like with this, they're like, yeah, we'll introduce this time travel thing, and instead of writing ourselves into a corner and like, oh, we screwed it. It's like, okay, get it out of there. I also think it was an excuse. Flair X is bringing up a good point. I think time travel does cheapen a lot of stories that aren't
it does.
based in it. Um, I think it is kind of like, I think it was really a way for them to bring Ahsoka back, and I think that was sort of, it's a good example of like what do people like a lot, and people wanted Ahsoka to not be dead, and so they were like, how do we do that? Because like there's no coming back from what happened.
Yeah.
And so, well, why don't we time travel it and make it happen? And it's like, okay, cool, but I don't know. We'll see if it's worth it with season 2 of Mandalorian if and when that comes out. So,
And this is my problem with it. It's George made Ahsoka. George made the decision to have Anakin have a non-official apprentice, meaning
yeah,
they had this Jedi and they're just like, we need someone to teach her. And Anakin, you're young enough and experienced enough to take her on. So let's go ahead and see how this works. And
right.
it's kind of a trial for both of them, for Ahsoka and Anakin. Like, let's see how he does with her.
Right.
Well, you didn't let George work on her after the acquisition. So George, and also they made a book about what happened to her after she left the order, and it was after Disney bought it. So that wasn't George's telling of it, and George never approved that. That was solely Disney going, "Hey, write this book, lady," and then there you go. So we never got a true George's telling of really anything Disney did after 2012, but especially Ahsoka. And you never got that true proper treatment from George. Even though Filoni was a part of it, George never was able to put his 2 cents in. So I
Well,
think,
and that's the thing I'm always kind of curious about is Filoni talks a lot about him getting in contact with George when he's having trouble and stuff writing. And so I don't know if maybe officially, yeah, George didn't have his name attached, but how much of, Filoni's input is from George. That being said, I think it's kind of weird that they wrote a book about what happened to Ahsoka after, and now they're like, I don't know if you've watched the new season of Clone Wars, but they are like touching on this is what's happening to her afterwards.
yeah, I'm all caught up right now. Um, Back on Wednesday, I briefed over it. Now they released a episode this past Friday, right?
Yes, they did.
Okay, I did not watch that one, but prior
It,
to that, I was all
that
caught
one's
up.
good. I like.
Uh,
I just like how they're treating. I mean, they are staying true to the Clone Wars fashion, and like, here are some repercussions of this galactic war, and like,
yeah,
we are getting shown like, hey, this is why the Jedi aren't very well liked. And that's kind of what I really liked about that show in the first place was that it was like there are people living in this galaxy. It's not like the only people who live in the Star Wars galaxy are a bunch of Jedis and
yeah,
stormtroopers and bad guys. Like there are actual just people who live there and
yeah,
seeing the repercussions of war on them is pretty crazy.
yeah. I love seeing all the Twi'leks like homes. being affected,
Oh
and then
yeah.
the clones have to evacuate them because of the separatists coming in. Like I like seeing stuff like that. I like seeing Geonosis, the underworld of Geonosis, and the bugs and all of that crazy shit. Like
Yeah.
it's cool. It's different worlds being affected by it, but um this new season, I like episode 1 through 4 to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the Bad Batch was done a little weird, meaning I don't mind if they have some heightened abilities, but I thought 2 out of the 4 guys in that group were weird. Like I like the tech guy. He was cool.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason why there couldn't be a stormtrooper with heightened knowledge. Like I mean, like a
Well, I just
higher
think
IQ. That's fine.
I think it's an idea that like should have been teased out in the beginning. Like it should have been this Bad Batch concept should really not be in the final season. This should be something that came up a season or two ago and we're
Yeah.
revisiting it now.
They should
Because
have
I'm
added it to
like,
season 6. And
right.
season 6 was also a smaller season. So
Or I
if
mean even
anything, they should have
5.
just
Like cuz I'm looking at
yeah.
it going this would be a great thing to like revisit in the season and round off as opposed to like let's introduce them, let's get them through, let's tell you about how they do have this kind of air of mystery to them, but then goodbye. We're never probably never going to see him again. We might see him before it's over, but I don't know. It would have been a cool thing to be like the Bad Batch is kind of this like covert black ops unit that we see and don't really hear a lot about. And it's just an interesting idea to be like, here's some like clones that may be messed up, were messed up in the cloning process, but it kind of worked out. So we use
Yeah. I like the tech guy. He was cool. He was very smart. He knew how to hack into systems. Similar to how you were talking about how you expected Rose Tico to be. Like she would have
right.
been the replacement for R2,
Hmm.
or like kind of somebody that would whatchamacallit, like just really make R2, seem better.
Well, I think you could have fun dynamics with
Complement R2. Like
yeah.
she could hack into systems as well and not make R2 do all of the heavy work. But this clone was really cool. He could hack into computers. He had his little setup on his armor. One of the coolest things from this season is alone the fact alone that he could translate people's different languages through his little computer. That was the coolest thing ever.
Well, that's also something that we just aren't. I mean, this is another thing that like Star Wars has severely lacked because it's been so limited to either books that only a small number, not small number, but only like a niche group of people have read in the past, or it's been movies, is other planets have other languages. Like,
Yeah.
not everybody speaks English or whatever you want to call it in
I
that
think it's
universe.
common or something.
Yeah, something like that. But it's
Yeah.
kind of like not everybody's going to be able to speak this language. So how are we going to treat this? And I think
Yeah.
that's something that I think Fallen Order, I don't remember, something deals with that kind of well. I mean, like that was actually one of the things I kind of liked about 9, at least as a thought, not how it was executed. But hey, look, this is written in a language that like, we need someone to translate it. And I mean, I would have just had C3PO not be able to translate it, but it's like, "Hey, this is can't possibly be that foreign. You're trying to make me believe that like of all these thousands of planets, everyone speaks the same language, even the ones where there clearly aren't flying around the galaxy? Like, come on, we gotta have some way of
Yeah.
translating this."
It just doesn't that never made sense, but now you can kind of see through that episode like, ah, cool. Like they have the means of doing that.
Right,
And
and
I like
it's
that
cool
I
to have
like how they acknowledged it.
I also liked how it was kinda clunky. Like, you didn't get like a Star Trek, like, "Okay, we're gonna explain it away to make it easier," of, "We have a universal translator, it just does it, we hear it, everyone's fine."
Yeah.
In this, it's like, no, I have to like read what this thing is and then tell you. I mean, it's like a Google Translate thing. It was nice to have
Essentially.
that.
But it was cool because it picked up on it right away and then just wrote it out for you.
Yeah.
I thought it was sweet. And then I like the commander of the Bad Batch who could And now this. No, wait, what was the one? Okay, no, the sharpshooter guy. No,
Yeah, yeah.
that was a skill that was like, okay, I could see that happening. Like he's just really good at shooting. That's completely fine. But then the other two, the commander and then the big guy, like, why is super strength an issue, a thing in Star Wars? What the fuck? Like, this is like that's a little bit of a stretch, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean,
He
and that's
picked
the
up a whole
problem.
gunship. It's like, come on.
And that's one of the things. I mean, I didn't really care for the strong, dumb character, to be frank.
He was annoying as hell.
It was, yeah, he was. And I mean, he was there for kids. Is there because it's still a cartoon that's for kids, and as much as people want to like say it's mine, it belongs to me because I grew up with it or whatever, like they are expecting kids to watch it. So make it something goofy. That's fine. I can give him a pass on that. Whatever. He didn't like ruin the stuff. It was funny enough for a kid, I imagine. But I mean, as far as some pacing goes, it would have just been nice to give. I like it when shows can do that, but at the same time, you don't have your sort of like punching bag character. Like he was the character who was there to take jokes and take and just be funny, whereas he didn't have any depth to himself. And I'm like, if you're good at writing, you can make a character do both. I mean, the rest of the show did that.
Yeah, no, it was more of, I mean, he was stupid. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't see the appeal to him at all. I mean,
Yeah, and I guess you could
from a
argue.
kid's perspective, it's just him yelling.
Yeah.
But even I know I'm saying this as an adult,
Yeah, yeah.
but looking back and how I remember me being as a kid, I would have seen him and been like, he has a gun. Why is he punching things?
Well, I think it's more just like you're kind of building on like the dumb, strong guy archetype that you get.
Yeah, but
It's like if you're
still, it's just
strong, then you're dumb. And I'm like, I don't know if that's really fair. Like I've met a lot of like very strong or like healthy or fit people who were quite smart. So I mean, you're just kind of propagating another weird stereotype at that point. I don't know.
yeah. I don't.
Don't make
It's
him a
just
genius, but still.
I could understand if it was like he has an aggression issue and the clones attacked his family or something, even though he's a clone. But I mean, like, should have been like, oh, the clones attacked my brothers and it affects me more than some other ones. That's fine. But
I would make it more like he can be funny, but then have the humor come from him being like kind of unstable, right?
like
Like so,
morbid humor, like a
well, like
veteran.
it's morbid and it's funny, but it's funny. I don't know, like how you would write this for a kid's show, but like it's like I'm gonna beat him up or whatever, and it's kind of funny. Or like I'll give him a knuckle sandwich or whatever, but then it takes a turn and it's not. Is like he's now talking about something that's pretty violent and like people aren't okay with it, or have him like freak out and rage and like
Yeah.
go too far, not like kill somebody, but like cause an issue because of this problem. And I think with the Bad Batch, that would have been an interesting thing to see is like they do have these better, they are like physically stronger, smarter, or whatever. But at the same time, give them a flaw. Like make them not so, maybe not like be rough and tumble necessarily, but just kind of like make some of these flaws have some side effects. They're better, but like this guy rages out and like he'll go Hulk and like crush stuff, or you know have the leader guy kind of go feral, or have I mean, you arguably do, but have the sharpshooter guy be like a fucking psycho or sociopath or something like that.
He
Like you
kind
can,
of was.
he kind of was, but like
Yeah.
you could have that be at another level where you have characters like Rex, who's supposed to be you watching this,
Yeah.
go, that's not cool. And them kind of be like, it's just how we work. And like occasionally make that not always a good thing. I think it would have been interesting. And I don't think it
I
would have been too much for like a kid because that's kind of how when done too much is not a good thing. So there you
yeah. No, I feel you there. I mean, you can't do too much with it, but
go. Yeah.
make it balanced to where everyone can kind of get in on it.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Rex a lot in these first four episodes. It's you get to see a more human side of these clones, especially Rex, because
Right.
he lost Echo, so he's dealing with it a little bit more than you would expect person that was created in a lab that's meant to take orders, that's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to do whatever you want him to do. He gets the human aspect. He understands also like Anakin and Padme. Like he understands why that's important to Anakin.
Well, that's one of the things I'll hail this show for just entirely is the fact that like they did take time to develop the clones as characters, and in the movies they're just not. They're almost like pets. At best, they're like
Yeah.
pets. At worst, they're just like meat shields. I mean, they're soldiers and they're just around. And this show takes that extra step to like where you do get like a sentimental, you feel for them. You can, and they give you almost a way of like understanding this is what it's like to all be the same and how we have to individualize ourselves because we are still humans. We do still have these emotions that wasn't like stripped away. So them as characters, I think just as on a whole is a brilliant direction to take the show. That being said, like sometimes it's a little quirky and it's a little clunky, or you guys have you run the risk of like there's too many clones. You can't humanize every single one of them. You're gonna have to have some be the meat shields that are gonna get blown up, or you just gotta kind of not care. But yeah, I mean, I think Rex in particular is such an interesting character because you are starting to get what ultimately you find out in Rebels is kind of this I am not going to follow these orders anymore sort of pushback from him. And I think that I'm kind of interested to see how that's going to actually like pay off at the end because we know he doesn't do 66 um
No.
per Rebels. Like he's not in on that. So it is kind of curious, like what is going to happen to make that occur? And then on top of that, it is nice to see like watching it with the hindsight bias of, Commander Cody does 66
Yeah.
and him and Rex are buddies. So like what's that? Is that gonna boil out to anything? Is that gonna become something? Are we gonna get maybe like an ominous goodbye or something like that? I'm kind of curious how this is gonna wrap itself up in hindsight of 3 and Rebels, and I think it could really pay off in a nice way, and I would hope that they don't, screw themselves too much with it.
I think if I'm correct, in the EU, I know Commander Cody later on started working on the Death Star for
Mhm.
Vader, but Rex, I think he just obviously, I mean, I don't know. I know he did his own thing. I know. I don't know if they touched on it before Disney acquired them. So
Yeah.
as far as the actual like ending of Rex, I don't really know what it would be. But Commander Cody's been around since 2005. So
Yeah. No, I mean, he was there in 3. I would
oh, actually
imagine.
no, he
Yeah.
was there for the cartoon, right? The first Cartoon Network cartoon.
If he was, I don't think he was named. He might have
Okay.
been, but I don't think he was named.
Because I have a figure from that cartoon, and it's Commander Cody and Obi-Wan.
Oh, maybe he was. I don't It's been a while.
I don't know, but anyways, um, yeah, I mean, I don't think the show's going to be going on, you know, past the beginning of episode 3 because this season's supposed to end right when 3 starts. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
Or at least supposed to bleed over a little bit into it, but I think it could really pay off if it just kind of ends. It ends you in a way where you're like, yes, you can make up enough of what happens based on what you've seen to kind of gather this is the end. We don't need to tell you. And that's one of the things I think Disney's getting a little notorious for is having this sense of we need to tell you every detail. And it's like, dude, just let me decide for myself. It's going to end. Let me decide what happens. I mean, look at Star Wars Episode 3. It ends. You don't feel like you necessarily need Solo and Rogue One in between. They don't hurt it, but they don't do, they don't need to be there. I can assume I know what happens between the end of 3 and the beginning of 4. Like, give me that kind of thing. I don't need to be filled in with
Yeah,
every single little detail, but,
it's like they're treating us like kids. It's like, okay, now, first of all, kids aren't that dumb. They're
right.
dumb, but they're not that fucking stupid. Um, it's like you're walking across the street with a kid and you hold the kid's hand. It's like, hold my hand, we're crossing the street. Okay. Well, then you get to your house, and then it's like, all right, hold my hand. We're going inside. It's like, wait, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to your room. It's like, wait, hold my hand. And they walk you up to your room. It's like, whoa, I can do this myself. No, 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 no. Give me your hand. No, that's weird.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that's what it is. It's hand holding. They just hold your hand the whole way through, and it is what it is. I mean, you can't do anything about it.
No.
It's just, and I think the problem, I think one of the things that people like so much about, I guess this, I got to get off here, but the last thing I'll say really is with series like Star Wars and even comic book movies and just movies and media and stuff is that people I think until now didn't realize one of the reasons like we like it so much is because it is sort of kind of open-ended, right?
Yeah.
Like you end episode 6 with this happy party and everyone's having a good time. You can, especially as a kid, make up whatever you want can happen after that. It doesn't matter. It's that story is over. You can make up whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's like we got to wrap everything up with this nice little bow so that we can say it's over. And that almost kind of kills a little bit of joy in some of these things where it's like, okay, they're dead, or this will never happen again, or we destroyed the thing that would ever cause it. So it's like we're done. And it's like, I want to, as a kid, like it was so fun to think of what is Luke Skywalker doing next. I didn't want to be told what it was because I wanted to make it up myself. And yeah, I think Flair over here is making a good point. It's just like here's the path. Yeah. I mean, there you guys can see it, but that's exactly how I feel watching these movies, regardless of what the IP is. It's just you're going to watch this, you're going to like this, and this is what it's going to be, and you don't get to have your own adventure in your own imagination. And I feel kind of sad because I hope that there's at least something out there. I don't know. I don't have a kid myself. I don't know a lot. I don't know a lot of like kids. Like I don't have a lot of friends who have kids um, that are at an age to kind of be experiencing this stuff. But it's like I really hope that those kids can have an imagination with some of this, some of these things going on, and not feel
Yeah.
like they're doing some kind of sacrilege to say, "Oh, Tony Stark didn't actually die at the end of Endgame. He just got transported somewhere else and is having his own adventure somewhere else because like whatever." Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's where we're at. That's one of the reasons I'm a little like bummed about some of this stuff, and it's some of the reason I'm a little afraid going forward with some of these things like The Mandalorian that are good right now. I'm like, okay, don't do that. Like, let me, by the end of this, let me imagine my own adventure of Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian or whatever. Like, you know, it's just funner that way. I think you feel, whether you realize it or not, I think you feel a little bit more satisfied when it's
It's like
open
being
ended.
in your head, like your head canon. Like
Right.
it's
But
what
it's
you
also
think.
like there was an end. You don't have like a
Yeah.
horror movie like, oh, it just keeps going. It's like, nope, the story that you watched ended. You feel satisfied, but you don't need to have the epilogue of what did they do after college kind of type thing. So it's
It's
like,
got to feel organic, and
exactly.
you don't have to have a prequel to every story. You don't have to have a sequel to every story.
Oh,
You make the
screaming.
story go on to however long it should, and then when
Hmm.
it's time to end it, cut it out. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to stretch it out to its entire limits to where people are like, "Fuck, this is ridiculous." Flare X, Timothy Zahn came in and filled in a gap no one considered. Yeah, I completely agree, and he did. I mean, he filled
Oh,
the
yeah.
gap in with the Thrawn trilogy. No one expected it. Great fucking trilogy. Like it was a cool story. And the Empire obviously doesn't die after the Emperor dies because there's still so many Imperial places throughout the galaxy, but the story continues. Different characters come along, different things happen to them, and it's just an ongoing adventure, and it's fun. And there's a lot of material out there. But Thomas, I know you got to get going soon, bud.
Yeah, I gotta hop off. But no, I mean those are great talking points. We can always talk about him, at a later date. I think
Oh
Timothy
yeah,
Zahn definitely brought in, filled in a gap that no one was really thinking about. And that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, it was open enough for someone to do that, and
yeah.
someone was cool with that happening. Right now it's like we are going to schedule this to death, and this will be the story that is told. And I mean, it worked great with Marvel, because it's making so many other production companies and IP in general just feel this weird need to make their own expanded universe. And it's like, just make a movie. Make a movie, make it done, and we're cool.
Exactly. Nah, there's no need to draw it out and then make it annoying for people. Like, don't. There is such thing as too much of a good thing. So
Exactly.
you can't fucking ruin it for the public and for the fans that have
Hmm.
stuck through with you for this whole time. So,
Yeah, I
but
guess it's just, I hope that, I mean, I at least hope that somebody likes these. Like, I mean, I'm personally not a fan of the sequel trilogy. I'm hoping that at least kids today are, because at least I can then say it's for them. You know, like it can be theirs. There's a lot of Star Wars. You don't have to like all of it. That's fine. But like,
I
to
think
me,
it is.
it's not good. So like, I hope they like it, because arguably I like the prequels growing up and I watch them now and I'm like, ah, they're not the best. I hope it's at least like that for them.
My final point before we get off. I hope kids later on. I hope they realize how bad these new sequel movies are. Because I don't, I personally, and it's not just like a selfish thing, like, oh, I fucking hate it. I hope everyone else hates it. It's like, I want kids that grow up and they see Ray as I saw Obi-Wan growing up and Luke Skywalker growing up.
Right.
But I want them to realize later on how bad a character they are. Like, I don't want, if I had a daughter, I don't want her being like, Ray is the gold standard for heroes and she's the embodiment of amazingness. It's like, no, she's not. Like, I want kids later on in the future, even kids in high school now, college kids younger than me. I'm still in college, but um, I want them to realize these movies versus the cool and the good six ones that came before it that actually explain things versus, hey, you're a Jedi Master. Really? I'd never even heard of the Jedi. I thought they were fake. Oh, you're a Jedi Master right now. I didn't
Yeah.
have to train. Oh, well, yeah, you totally are. Oh, okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I would want like what I feel to be like a good uh role model, you know,
Yeah,
for someone to look up to. And I guess like for some of these characters, it feels kind of like a cop out. And that's always a conversation for another time. But yeah, I agree with you. I would want something where it's, you are doing good. You do, and I want the character to have flaws, because it's just not real to not have flaws. But I mean, if you ever have me back on here, I'm more than happy to talk about it.
dude, I'd love to have you back on here, man. The
Oh,
sooner the better. I mean, this is this is definitely by far the best episode that I've had on here, man.
oh
Like
wow, I feel
this this has been awesome. So I
thank
really
you.
appreciate having you on here, Thomas. Next time we'll definitely go more in depth about Star Wars and the current situation we got, and
Sure.
we can do a recap if you'd like
Yeah, no
of
problem.
the new season.
Yeah, maybe that's a good aim. Future, we'll see how it goes with the end of this Clone Wars show, and then we'll see what we can work out.
All right, man. Well, everybody go check out So What Happens Next. You can find them on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, and you can also find them on Instagram and Facebook. Thomas, you got any final points real quick before we head out?
Oh, I mean, as far as everything we talked about, I'm good. I guess just to any other further plugs, yeah, check out So What Happens Next. We got a website, makes it easier if you check swhn19.com. That's something. Check out. You can see our posters, all the past episodes, that kind of stuff, or comment on things. But yeah, feel free to check us out. And Cody, maybe we can see about like working out some kind of remote recording session for that if you want to be a part of it. But yeah, this
Absolutely,
was,
absolutely.
yeah, this was a lot of fun. Like it's cool. It's 3 hours. I hope people. I hope people listen to it. But
It goes
yeah,
by
no,
quick when you're
thanks.
having fun, man.
Yeah, I really didn't realize how much time was going by. So no, this is really fun, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we got 13 likes on here, and once this ends, we'll see what the watch was, and then later on, it'll jump up hopefully a little bit. But
No,
yeah, I'll
cool.
be sharing this on Facebook. So But again, thanks for coming on here, man. I know you're busy and you got to get to work and get ready. So
Yeah.
I'll let you get going.
All right.
But
Thanks, man.
yeah, everybody, thank you in the chat. Flare X, Etepo Kumi is the place to be review. Salvador, Reyes Double Dong, thank you very much, everybody, for joining in today. I really appreciate it. And Captain Handyman for that earlier comment.
Yeah,
So
thanks for catching some of the stuff when I was like, "Oh man, I wish I, I wish I was able to Google this really quick."
this doing bad. Brie Larson is best, and you can't change that. She cooler than you. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. Y'all have a great day. Be safe in the quarantine. Um,
Stay
just
inside.
be smart. Don't be stupid. Don't be like us Florida people who go around all over the place. Oh man. Well, have a great day, y'all, and we'll see
Yep.
you later.
Bye.